Welcome to another edition of the RF Video Shoot Interview Series. Today we're joined by a true legend in the sport for the second time. Welcome back with us, Billy Jack Haynes. It's a pleasure to have you back with us. And basically you came to us this time about 6 months ago, and you have a lot of stuff on your mind, and we're giving you the platform and allowing you to speak your mind, and whatever you want to say, this is your chance to say it.
Thank you very much, Rob. This is going to be a real heavy, truthful, right to the bare bone professional wrestling interview. What time I have left on this earth, you're probably going to be looking at a dead man. Maybe by the time this video gets out, maybe in 6 months, maybe a year, 2 years, could be tomorrow, I don't know. But what I've got myself wrapped up in is something pretty heavy. In the past, future, who knows what's going to happen in anybody's life. So I'm going to start out with this. Now, my hand is on this Bible right here. So this is what RF Videos is, this shoot. And I'm going to call this myself. I called up Rob. He didn't call me. This is a super shoot on the Bible. Everything you're going to hear is the truth. I know it. Billy Jack Haynes, in the business. Sometimes you get a personality disorder in this business. I want to kind of trace back for the people who didn't see the first video I did with RF, and go back to 2006. Now, I come down here in June of 2006 and did a autograph session, and I had been 14 years I hadn't done one. I don't like the media. I used to not like marks, and I'll admit it to you right now, I'm a sociopath. And if anybody knows what a sociopath is, that's somebody that's a recluse who doesn't like to be around people. And I got to admit I am a sociopath. Not proud of it, but like I said, I'm being honest. If anybody knows me in professional wrestling, the last time I was here in June 2006, I didn't really know about the interview, to be honest with you. Rob told me to come in and I did it, but I wasn't on cue. And I was high. I was high on, excuse me, this right here, methadone. I was on methadone from 2002 to 2008, December 18th, which is December, January, February, March, April, May, 5 months. So I've been clean for 5 months. So you're not talking to a stoned Billy Jack Haynes out of his gourd. That's my pro wrestling name. I was proud of my family name, my father, William Albert Haynes. But you have to have a gimmick in wrestling. So I don't want to go clear back and go back into my childhood for the people who don't know me, but for the old timers, the old school that does know me, you know I'm a straight shooter. In this case, a straight super shooter. So without any more dialogue, let's get right to the point. I just wanted to clarify that. Now, I think Rob's going to do he has nothing to do with this. And I want to make this very clear. Nothing. This is coming right from me. Right from here and what's left to here. So understand this. Everybody in the world understand this. All over the world. Before I come out here in January 2006, January 10th of 2006, I got, it was attempted murder on me. Yeah, that's right, attempted murder. I was in critical condition, near death. I don't know how many staples, stitches, whatever I had, but it was quite a few. I cannot see out of my right eye. If you can focus in here at my eye. Coming out of my head, I've had a surgery, had a total facial reconstruction, but here I am right here. And that looks like probably an autopsy photo. You want to take a look at it? That's me. That's me. And I wasn't expected to live through this, but I did. So that's another reason why I wanted to do another interview, because when I came out, I was only half myself. I wasn't all there. Enjoyed it because Rob Feinstein puts together the best stuff, and that's why I called him up. And wow, when you're doing a super shoot like this, it's different than you just talking straight, because what I'm going to do today is I'm going to put Vincent, was it Kennedy McMahon? I call it Vincent Killer McMahon. That's you, Vincent Killer McMahon. Yeah, that's right. You're a killer. You know, I don't even watch you, Vince. You make me sick. I understand Dusty Rhodes is your booker. You have got to be kidding me. And you know, before I came down here, I just tuned in Monday and saw you in the ring. Oh, gluttony. Well, you're 65 years old, whatever the fuck you are. Any kids are watching, I'm sorry for my language, but man, I'm zoned in here. And I saw you see a guy in the ring. You said his name is Enos. Enos. And man, the man up above must have saw me when I turned that TV on, because 10 seconds later you said penis to everybody all over the entire world that watches WWE. And man, there's a whole bunch of them, isn't it, Vince? You know why? Because you stole every damn territory there is. See? That's the way the old school was. There was territories everywhere. And you can focus in everywhere. You see that? And you monopolized on everything. So your responsibility, it falls everywhere now. It's on you. So little kids, pro wrestlers, fans, old, young, any demographic, it's on you. It's on you. And you know something? Now I'm getting a little bit warmed up. I want to tell you something, Vince. You know, you and me go back a long way. A long way. I started in this business out of the pure love of my dad, because I was a total bum at 28, 29 years old. And I wanted to be a pro fighter, broke my left hand, couldn't do that. Was in there with Jerry Corey, Ron Loud, Ken Norton. I want to say to the Greg Page family out there, God bless you, I know he passed away. And also Big John Tate, who I won a few rounds with, passed away in Knoxville, Tennessee. And my heart's there with you. And boxing is tough business, just like it's commissioned through pro wrestling. It's a tough business. But when you monopolize it, Vince, see, it comes into your hands, right into your hands. So what I want to do, since this is going to be about a 2-hour interview, Rob, am I right on that?
Yep, it's as long as you want to go.
Okay, thank you, sir. We want to get, I don't want to miss anything out, because this will be the last interview that you'll ever hear of Billy Jack Haynes, the wrestler. Because Billy Jack Haynes, the wrestler, has been dead a long time ago. You know, I was noted as a policeman in this business, tough guy. Yeah, I've been there, and yeah, I've had my ass kicked. You know, I think in the UFC, we talked about that earlier, Randy Couture beat Tim Sylvia when he made his comeback. Ray Randy, yeah, he's my buddy there in Gresham, Oregon. Matt Lindeland, these are two tough guys. They started UFC, Rob. They started it, pretty much.
Yep. And
Dana White came along. Where Dana White started, then they came in. Hey, then he fought. Brock Lesnar was smart enough to get the fuck away from you, Vince. He couldn't take it. Kurt Angle couldn't take it. See, the amateurs can't take your shit. They won't take it. Olympic gold medalists, these guys won't take it. They scare you, don't you, Vince? I scare you, don't you? Don't I? Sorry. Hey, you know, I'm getting old. But I scare you. Bruiser Brody scared the hell out of you. You know who the best man in this business is to me? That started me and gave me the heart and soul to get in, really, besides my father, was Dr. D. David Schultz. And I didn't say anything about you last time, Dr. D. Brother, I loved it when you slapped John Stossel on his ass in 1985. You know, it's really great. Now, in any other sport, you'd have a players' union. And that players' union, you wouldn't be fired right away or fired 6 months down the road. They'd take you to the side, they might fine you. But you know what? The NBA, the NFL, the Major League Baseball, the National Hockey League, they all have players' unions for representation. And they all have an off-season. You know, if they're injured. In professional wrestling, you know what, people? There is no off-season. None. No time off. And if you're injured, like in baseball, football, you're out that week and you get paid for it because you're injured. In professional wrestling, Vince, I can remember when I tore my knee ligaments out, Hey, I had to wrestle, didn't I, Vince? Or what? I wouldn't get paid, or I'd be fired. You had to hammer over all of us. And slowly but surely, it all came your way. So, without further ado, I think I've laid the format out. I'm going to blow you out of the water right now. And you know I know the truth. I know you've been trying to hit me, man. I figured the puzzle out. You figured I've been dead a long time ago. But no, I'm still here. I know you're connected from New York all the way to the Portland Oregonian newspaper. You know why I know? Because there's... Hang on. I'll be real clear this time because last time I wasn't. Okay. This is called the Portland Tribune. This is the second paper because there was a monopoly in Oregon too. See? There were several stories that was written on me when I was almost killed right here by a guy named Phil Stanford, who at the time I thought was a great guy. I really did. I thought he was on my side. Until I put two and two together and figured it out. Why is this second biggest paper writing stories about a celebrity? And believe me, I have no ego. I'm not a braggist, but I wore Oregon on my trunks. And the own state that I represented my whole career was so proud of, Oregon, for my dad. You know, here's what you put in the Oregonian, your number one paper. Nothing. As I lay almost dead, nothing. Nothing. Because the Oregonian is owned by who, Vince? New York. You didn't want this because I was supposed to be killed here, but I lived. You see, I lived, Vince. So what happens? I come out here, 2006, do my deal. What do? You wait for the time is right again. Let's see, let's get it right here, Billy, come on. I know you only got half a brain left, but can you zoom in on my head? Mm-hmm. Please? Can you zoom in on this right eye? I see cross-eyed unless I raise my head a little bit down or up. But a lot of these stitches were done by a razor blade in professional wrestling, and for all the time, old-timers never wanted to admit that. We wanted to keep that, you know, to us. It was the old Carney Act that goes over 100 some years ago. And we kept that a secret. Along comes Vince McMahon, exposes the business. You asshole, man. Here we go. I'm here in my van. Homeless. Yeah, that's right, homeless. In my van, sleeping. Gotta be truthful with you. And some guys come up with a knife and stab me. Luckily, I blocked enough of it. It was going between my eyes. Big police report. They said I would have been dead. Instinct reaction saved me. Probably what little instincts I have left from boxing. Here's the coverage I got. Gee whiz. You tried again but failed. Now here, back in here, we got, in Portland, we got the first ever gay mayor, Sam Adams. And I've heard since I've been here in Newark, a few people have come up and told me, hey, we heard about Sam Adams, the gay mayor, and kind of snickered at me. Like, what am I supposed to do, you know? 90% of people here in New York are cool too. Man, look what they went through with the Twin Towers. If that happened in Oregon, you guys would be running scared shitless downtown, wouldn't you? Listen, I'll try and tone it down a little bit. What I'm trying to say is this. I'm heterosexual. All the way, 100%. If you're gay and you're born gay and you can't do nothing about it, you're a human being. Now I'm, what, 1/8 Modoc, and I'm like a quarter Irish, I'm Indian. You know, I'm a minority if you want to say it, you know, but I hate that word minority. There should not be a word minority in this world, man. That gives you advantages over somebody else. That's like saying, if I'm Indian, I'm better than you. I got more rights than you. Or if I'm black, I got more rights than you. Or if I'm Asian, I got more rights than you. The white man seems like they lost their rights. I'm not really basically white. I'm more Indian. Why don't everybody understand humanity? I've gotten off you a little bit, Vince. Don't worry, I'll get right back on you. But we all believe the same, man. We all believe the same. And why doesn't everybody take a look at this RF video today and take a look at a dying man that you're seeing that probably won't be around much longer. If I'm not murdered, I'm dying. And I'll tell you what I'm dying of very shortly. But just think for a second what's going on in the world. The rights, the constitutional rights that we have right now, please respect them. But most of all, join hands, black, white, Asian, Mexican, no matter what you are. If I've left you out of it, Japan. I've traveled around the world in pro wrestling, and I have seen every kind of human being there is. And you know what? They're all beautiful people. And what hurt me the most was when I was child raped at 8, 9, and 10. And it was horrible. It was the worst you can imagine. Oral, anal, you name it. When I grew up, I didn't know what sex was till I reached puberty. Then I realized then what it was by instinct. You know, for 30 years you smell a flower and it brings you back to a memory or something like that. It hit me like that. So I've never been able to love anybody. I told you about last time, I told my uncle about it. He was an ex-pro fighter. He died. He was rushing back to me in a semi-truck because I didn't want to tell my dad because he would have killed him like I told you. What happens to him? He's coming back to me and he's killed in a semi-truck. Now at his funeral, I'm watching my dad at 15 on his knees at the casket where about 10, 20 pounds of flesh of my uncle left from that there semi-truck that crushed him to death with iron. And then I have to look over at 15 and see his wife dressed in black holding the hands of a 4 and a 2-year-old, or a 6 and a 2-year-old, and she was pregnant with her third baby. How do you think that made me feel at 15 when I told him he died because of me? No one can ever change that. A month later, I tell my mother. I thought my mother didn't love me. She told me she didn't want me at 6. I heard her, what she said to her sister. That hurt me my whole life. I swear, I could never say I loved her until my dad had to beat me with a stick, and he hated doing that because he loved me more than anything. And I'd say, I love you, Mom. I thought you put me out there, but you didn't. When I told you a month later what happened, you broke down and cried. We went out there in Oregon City, and you seen your sister, Narma. We got into it. Remember, Ray, you pedophile prick? I knocked you over the sofa. Then I heard a bouncing of my mother's head on the wall, turned around, pulled you by the hair, threw you down. Then I seen the blood come from the back of my mother's head. And you said, prove it, prove it, prove it. You admitted guilt that you raped me right then and there. Remember we were playing hide and seek and all that good stuff? I'm going to be little Elvis Presley there, Uncle Ray. I should give the last name because you ruined my life. But I'd have somebody who cared enough about me to come out there and whack you. That's going to happen. I'm going to be the one that does it. I haven't yet, have I? Because my father said, thou shalt not kill. And I haven't yet. Just better hope I don't flip out before I die, you know. Because if I do, man, you're done. I'm on camera saying it. Get a restraining order. What's it going to do for you? You ruined my life. I wanted to have kids so bad. My dad wanted to have his grandson bounce right off his knee, and for me to continue the William Albert, or William actually Abbott Haynes Sr., Jr., the third, and my baby would have been the fourth, and so on. But I couldn't even have sexual relationships because when I came, your kids, parents, if your little guys, keep them away right now for a few seconds, okay? Because my problem was when it come, get them away. When it come to orgasm, I couldn't do it because all I remembered is what I did with my uncle, what the hand, what he did here, and what he did here. And I felt it. I remember the twitching motions. I remember it all. You pedophile prick motherfucker. You destroyed me. I'm a human being. You destroyed me. I could never love Never. I could never love a woman. My first girlfriend, she told me she loved me. You know, when I was 17, I finally had a girl. I wasn't a virgin no more. She loved me, and I felt like I loved her, but I couldn't say it. My first wife, Jean Clark, the one that married Stone Cold Steve Austin later. I couldn't say I loved you, even though that was a different kind of a marriage to keep her in the United States. I got married in Tampa, Florida, later on down the road, to a beautiful woman named Selena from Cuba. Beautiful woman. She didn't know nothing about this, what I'm saying. So if you get this tape, sweetheart, then you'll know about me. You know the real me now. I kept this from you, and I'm very sorry I did. I ruined our relationship sexually. You know, I never was physical with you at all, nothing like that. But now you know what happened. They were right across the street. Couldn't tell you. I loved you. I'm sorry. You used to have to rape me to have sex. I'm sorry for that. This isn't a comedy show. You don't see me laughing. You know, I'm just a human with human feelings. Something that Vince McMahon doesn't have. Vince, you think about the almighty dollar. You know, that's really funny. It just really bugs me. It bothers me. I'm going to go now to pump it up to the movie Billy Jack. It came out in 1972 when I was 19. After I was in the military and went AWOL, I couldn't do nothing right with my life. After 6 months, PFC, I go AWOL for a year. My dad convinces me to turn myself in. I do. 6 months in military stockade I spend. I do nothing but disappoint my dad because he doesn't know I got raped. If I told him that he had juvenile diabetes, he would have went completely out of it, killed the guy. So I had to live with it. So we've seen the Billy Jack movie at night when it was 1972, and we watched that about 10 times. My dad could still see out of his left eye. He was blind in his right eye from juvenile diabetes. We moved up to 20. I was the same way, dysfunctional. Both sides of my family were dysfunctional except for my father and Uncle Red. I'm sorry to have to say that, but everybody was divorced. My grandmother, grandfather, their great, all the way on up. We had a very dysfunctional family. There's a lot of out there like that. And I'm a dysfunctional child. Not their fault, not my fault, and it's just there. It happens to a lot of people. When I was 23, I was sparring with, it was the best part of my life because when I was 23, I was in 6'4", 220, and I was become a pro boxer for my uncle because he boxed, and I was ready, man. I don't know how far I would have went, maybe top 50, maybe, I don't know. But I was sparring with world champion fighters, like I told you, and getting my ass kicked. You know what? That's the only way you learn is to get your ass kicked. And that's how I did it. Come back and fight somebody normal, you just, boom, it's over. But, all of a sudden, I get a call when I'm down in Los Angeles with Ken Arnold, who's deceased now. I got to say another heavyweight that was 37-14 out of Oregon. God bless you, Ken Arnold and Arnold's family. Dale Arnold, your brother. I knew you, Dale. You're a great guy. Kenny was a great guy. We drove down to L.A. and had sparring. We got paid $300 a week to spar with Jared Quarry, Ron Lyle out of Denver, Colorado. We fought George Foreman, Quarry. You know, we fought a lot of these are all big name guys, man. Ken Norton, all of them. They pounded on us and we'd drive back. Well, I was down in L.A. and I got the call that my father's going blind. He's having surgery, so I had to leave. So I drove back. I held my dad's hand for 4 hours. And they had to put pressure up in his eye. They had him in a striker's frame. Then they tell me it's going to be 4 days. So my dad's laying in whole. If you people know what a striker frame is, about like this, his face is in there and he has to lay motionless. So if you got claustrophobia, like I do, or panic disorder, like I do, a lot of people have it, he had to lay there. And then had his insulin shots, being a juvenile diabetic. So for 4 days he laid there. And they had to IV his urine, his feces, everything, right there. A doctor comes in to release a little pressure, and pop, There goes his eye, splattered everywhere. My dad's blind forever. So I committed myself to my dad then. That was it. My dad meant more to me than anything in the world. And I'm going to look right at you and say that. You already know that. I would have done anything for my father. And so I stayed with him. And we lived together. And we watched movies. I'd tell him what was going on. He could still walk. We'd go places together. Got a few fights there. Remember one time we were walking into the Greyhound. Our family used to gamble too. I didn't really tell you much about that, but we used to gamble with the Multnomah Kennel Club out there in Gresham, Oregon. They shut it down, but one time we were walking in and some guy said something to my dad and me said, "No, look at the two gay guys walking together," and my dad heard it and he has zero temper too, so he said, "Get him, son," so I did. I got him. One guy hit his head in the concrete. He ended up in critical condition. And there was a security guard there that saved me there. I should have been in prison for first-degree assault. They had me in cuffs. They were going to arrest me, but they let me go. So I got a break there. 24, 25, I'm cleaning toilets for a living. I'm at the YMCA. I go down there and playing basketball. I wasn't a sociopath really then. Not too much. My dad forced me to get out of the house. The visiting nurses would take care of him. So, what happens? This is gonna go to a bang. So I'm just told you, I'm bringing it up like this. Don't worry, folks. I didn't get a hold of Rob for nothing. This is gonna be a super shoot about you, Vince. You're gonna be on ice till the end, and you're gonna be responsible for everything. I'm just building this up. So at 27 years old, I'm cleaning toilets. Nothing. I'm a nobody. 28, nothing. We're listening to Portland wrestling. You want me to become a pro wrestler, you said. I don't know nothing about wrestling, I'm a boxer. But for my dad, I'd do anything. I could do the Chinese splits. If anybody knows what the Chinese splits is, it's pretty hard to do. Just even the regular splits. I was that flexible. I was a natural athlete. But I was done. You know, the pedophilia to me, the rape to me when I was a kid destroyed me. It just destroyed me and my family. And finally, we watched Portland wrestling, and I didn't know what to do. Went down to the gym, and the guy said, "Listen, if you're going to be a wrestler," he said, "read Arnold Schwarzenegger's book." I said, "Okay." So I follow Arnold's diet. "Hey, Arnold, how you doing there, Mr. California Governor? You're a phony. You know what I'm talking about. I met you down there in Gold's Gym. You remember that, don't you? Yeah, you're a phony governor. I'm going to tell you why. No one even know who the fuck you are. If it wasn't for steroids, right? But yet you wrote 2 books saying follow this diet and you'll gain 60 pounds of muscle. You lied about steroids. No, you gained all your muscle with steroids. You and Franco Colombo. I've read your books. So then you come over to the United States, you won 6 Mr. Olympias. That's great, man. You worked your ass off, buddy. But you lied about the steroids. Didn't you? Then all of a sudden movies came. I think it was Conan the Barbarian in 1980. I even explained that to my dad before I got into wrestling. You made it big, man. Then a guy told me about Arnold's full of shit. He's taking steroids. 2 months I'm following the diet. I haven't gained a pound. He says, go on a 12-week cycle of steroids, Billy, and your frame and your age of 28 years old, you'll put on 50 pounds of muscle. He measured me up and everything. I said, well, you sure? He said, yeah, I'll work my ass off. I did it. Because I knew I couldn't be a pro wrestler. I was too small. In a 12-week cycle, I gained 50 to 60 pounds of muscle, bench pressing 375 natural, to where I could do 405 for sets of 15 and do 540. So that's the advantage that steroids gives you, ladies and gentlemen. So my career's coming up now. I'm not going to go backwards anymore. I just wanted to get that little backwards thing so you know, when I'm looking at the camera, what's going on here. So I got on that, and man, he told me to enter this here bodybuilding contest in March of '82. It was called the Mr. Pacific Northwest. I entered it, and I came in second. And that qualified me for the Mr. USA. I mean, I couldn't believe it. The steroids made me just a absolute 20 to 21 inch bicep, 60-inch waist. 58-inch chest, 34-inch waist, 36-inch waist, and 20-inch calves, the whole thing. I mean, the roids, it was the whole key, but everybody kept it under lock and key. They've been doing it for a long time. I remember watching the East German swimmers and wondering why they never tested them in the Olympics afterwards. Now I know. It looked like men. That's just the way it is. So now I take and parlay that, and my dad wants to go down to the Portland Sports Arena for Portland Wrestling. So we've been watching it. His favorite wrestler was Dr. D. David Schultz, and so is mine. I also like Playboy Buddy Rose and Rip Oliver. I mean, it was, if you can imagine, in Portland, especially when you buy this video, and I certainly hope you do, because this Rob Feinstein's one hell of a man to come here and do this. You know, let me do this. He's not involved in it. He's just letting me speak my piece, because we are in America, aren't we? This is the United States. We still have freedom. And looks like we've got a president who knows what he's doing. Thank goodness for that, man. Man, we get into that Iraq, talk religion and politics all day, but that goes on too long, and the fist fights erupt and all that. I'm just telling you, we all bleed. This is what way it really is, man. We're all human beings, no matter what color, creed, sex, or size. We all breathe the same air on earth and need each other to survive. How about that? It's a real simple thing. And I've always been for the handicapped, because my dad's been handicapped. So if you have someone who can't see or has no legs, coming back from the war or whatever, please, you might be there yourself one day. Help them out, man. Please. Please. Okay? So, now, after watching the movie Billy Jack, after watching Conan the Barbarian, now after finding out that Schwarzenegger's full of shit, now he's parlayed at it all the way into being the governor. You did good. You did good. But you're a liar, but you did good. You remind me of Vince a little bit, though. McMahon. No one's as bad as that, though. So, now, we go to the Portland Sports Arena. We talk to Don Owen, and a guy named Dutch Savage there tells us to get the F. Well, no, what the F? Get the fuck out of here. And I remember Rocky Johnson, the Rock's dad, was there, and Buddy Rose and Rip Oliver and Dr. D. All these guys came out because I was a part-time bouncer at this bar, and they'd sometimes come in and I'd see them but didn't say nothing. Boom. You know, the dream is busted. My dad is destroyed. We left, and I thought wrestling was done. But my dad said, no, you can do it, son. And I tried again. I went down to the Oregon gym. And here comes walking in the door, God sent probably. I don't care what you're Muslim, whatever religion you are, man. God or whoever the man is. I don't know who he is. Do you? I believe in something. I'm not an atheist. But if you are, hey, you are. But I believe in something. I know there's a God. There's something that created us. We can't come from a sperm cell that you can't see under a microscope magnified 100,000 times to grow into what we are. We're something. You have to believe in something. So here walks in Dr. D. David Schultz at 6'7", 290 pounds, man. And told me, man, Billy, we seen you come in there with your dad. And we couldn't say nothing then because of the promoter, Don Owen and Dutch Savage. But you can make it. I want you to go down to Calgary. I wrestle down there every Friday, and I'll see you down there. Just go down and talk to Stu Hart. So I went back and told my dad, and my dad was crying. It was a dream. It was like $1 billion to 1. It's like hitting the lottery, man. I mean, I'm talking, I had no self-esteem, nothing, except now I had this steroid body. You know, it was unbelievable, really. I had no self-esteem. So Dad told me to go. So I start to go. Get ready to go down there in August of 1982. And I can't even go. I find out I need my dad more than he needs me. That's when I found out that I was a sociopath. But I left. I wanted to make something of myself for my dad. I went down to Calgary and I met Stu Hart. Tough Stu Hart passed away, I think, 2002, 2003. Was that Rob?
I forgot exactly what year it was.
But you know,
yeah, it was around then.
There's a lot of guys that broke in at the Calgary dungeon, and the ones that did, I had no idea of this, but David Schultz did. Thank you, David. I didn't. Most of the guys that made it there in Pro Wrestling Big come out of the Calgary Stu Hart dungeon because it was the old school way of pro wrestling. They beat the living shit out of you. And I remember the Dynamite Kid was there. I remember Bret Hart was there. Jim Neidhart, Davey Boy Smith. All the super big names that would be later in the 80s were there. And Dynamite Kid was doing kip-ups and stuff like that. They're having you kick your feet out on the concrete, take bumps, slamming you on the concrete. It was just phenomenal if you could make it. And like I said before, I didn't have no money to get home. I went down there with another guy who was trying to make it too. So I went through the punishment and got on the road with him in the van my 10th day there. Go right back to pedophilia again, man. And I got to talk to one of the hard boys, and that's you, Bruce. You're the one that made me want to quit the business. Because when we were on the road, Bruce Hart, Bret Hart's brother, was fucking this 14, 13-year-old girl. And I'd have to wait in the van while you did it. And then oral sex to under 16 to a lot of the boys. That turned me off. And the reason it turned me off because I am a child rape victim. So right then and there, I decided I didn't want no more to do with it. I had maybe 4 matches, and I was told by Dynamite Kid that to not quit. David Schultz told me not to quit. He goes, "You're going to make it big in this business." But I said, it's a personal thing I can't talk about. I can't take it. I can't take it. Not the pounding, but I just can't take the pedophilia that I saw. And you hard boys know what I'm talking about. Not all of you. Just what I saw you, Bruce. And you know it's the truth. In fact, you married her. Her name is Andrea Hart. It's in the media. It's on the internet. People know I'm talking straight. I put my hand on the good book. And I swore on my father. So, hey, you guys just take it any way you want. Coming right from here, man. Okay, I go back to Portland. I'm going to quit. But to face my dad and tell him that and break his dream would have been too much for me. So I went back and just told him that I injured my ankle and I'm going to try it again. But I was through mentally. So what happens is I go back to the Oregon gym and I run into Dr. D. David Schultz again. He takes me to the side, tells me, "Do not quit this business. Rip Oliver and I are going to hook you up. Rip the Cripper Oliver, another great man. I wouldn't have made it without you, Rip." He says, "Go to Owen. We got it set up for you on November 6, 1982. So there I go. I told my dad. He's ecstatic. I took him down there. What it basically was, and I didn't even know this, it was a tryout. So I went on first match. My dad went up in the crow's nest with the visiting nurse, with my brother Rick and my brother Steve. Everybody was excited about that. I didn't know if I was going to be a pro wrestler or not. I was in the locker room talking over the match with Rip Oliver. We went out there, we had our match, and I just listened to him, and it went over great. In fact, when we got back, I couldn't believe it. You know, when they announced me from Portland, they kind of shook their heads, "Who's this guy?" You know, but the second time I went out there, they knew who I was. I wrestled twice that night, and they put me over with the full Nelson. They established that night. So, to speed things up a bit, my dad, every Saturday night, I take my dad to Portland Wrestling, and though he was blind, and at that time had an infection, I had to stay close in because they amputated his foot. So now my dad is disabled from juvenile diabetes the rest of his life in a confined to wheelchair. You all know about that. A lot of people have diabetes too, and juvenile diabetes, 1 out of 5. So take care of yourself, man. I know what you're going through. It's a tough thing. And So I stayed there with my dad through Portland Wrestling. I traveled every night. Here was the schedule quickly. Portland Wrestling was Portland, Oregon on Saturday, TV. Sunday would be a spot show somewhere in Oregon or Washington. Always come home. Tuesday would be a spot show. Wednesday a spot show. Would be be either Seattle or Medford every other week, every 2 weeks. Thursday would always be Salem. Friday would be Eugene, and Saturday back in Portland. So you're always home. So if you had a family, the other wrestlers, Vince, the other wrestlers would be home with their families, and so it wouldn't be that. Sure, there was some. I wasn't into it except for steroids at that time. I've seen some drugs going on, but they were home with their family every night. They weren't away. So the adultery, I didn't see it. I rode by myself, but I didn't see it, and it was great. I was making about $1,500 a week, by the way. So I was making $4 an hour cleaning the toilet to making $1,500 a week. So it was a big thing for me and my family. So come Eddie Graham had seen a video that was sent down by Rip Oliver. Sent it down to Eddie Graham's Florida Championship Wrestling, and Eddie, for some reason, he just loved my style. And he wanted me really bad, but Don Owen didn't want to let me go because I was from Portland. I gave him a month notice. Don, you know this is the truth. Stan Stasiak and I became good friends, became tag team champions. He even told you to let me go, let me expand my wings, and he's a former WWF champion in 1973 for Vince McMahon Sr., the real promoter in professional wrestling. That would never go in anybody else's backyard, Vince. Your dad, he would never do what you did. Like, I wanted my dad to live forever. You wanted your dad to die, didn't you? You know you did. And he did. You took over. You did what you did. Once again, I don't want to get ahead of myself. So, here we are now. I got to leave my dad for the first time. And being really diagnosed now, at the time I didn't know, but I know now that I've been diagnosed as not only a sociopath, I've got a very rare panic disorder, and I've got so many injuries I can't speak of through the almost 3,000 professional matches I had. But I drove down there and I could feel every mile away from my father. It was like, I was like 30 then, in a 15-year-old mindset, if you can understand that. I wanted to go back to my dad so bad. I was so insecure myself. But my dad wouldn't want that. So I drove all the way down to Florida, to Tampa, Florida. And I drove in there, and Eddie Graham, I walked up those stairs to the Tampa Sportatorium. Eddie Graham was there to welcome me with Gordon Soley, who was the best ever at the mic. The best professional wrestling announcer there was ever. There's so much politics in any business, and pro wrestling, it's a work. It's all a work, so you can imagine the politics there. What I mean by work is, I don't like to be called fake, because there's nothing fake about wrestling. Nothing. The surgeries are real. The stunts are real. So we're professional stuntmen. There's nothing fake about it. Choreographed, yes. The art of pro wrestling is to make it look like you're killing a guy or girl, if a girl against girl, without hurting them. That's the art. Make it look real without hurting the guy. Okay? That's the art. So I was there for the second month I was there. For some reason, the Florida fans they fell in love with me, and I fell in love with them too. It was in love. I told you I can't love, but you know what I mean. The best I could. It made me feel good, especially the little guys. They come up, they want autographs and stuff. I mean, who am I anyway? So I sign anywhere, anytime. And I can remember Dusty Rhodes coming up to me there. He was jealous. I didn't even know. I really even knew what jealousy was till I left Portland. There was no jealousy even in Portland. There wasn't none there. I get down to Florida. Here's Dusty Rhodes, who was booking for Eddie Graham. All of a sudden, the jealousy came in. Barry Windham, the jealousy came in with you too. Mike Rotundo. I guess you married into the Windham family. I don't know. I don't care. I thought you were a nice guy. You're okay. But you just defended him. So I ended up having to fight Barry Windham, Dad's blackjack. No problem there. You have to fight for your right in this business. If you're weak, they'll test you, they'll throw you to the side. So I was going to quit there. Eddie took me to the side and said, don't quit. Now, Dusty Rhodes is a jealous prick. Don't quit. He makes me money as a booker, and I just bear with it. Duke Tanaka was there too, so I stayed on. Come outdoor, we have an outdoor show. Here's the schedule in Tampa, Florida. When I showed you that when we used to have with the territories, all these territories, and Florida was right here. That was Florida. And in Florida, it would be like this. Every Tuesday, we were in Tampa, home. Every Wednesday, there was a TV taping in Tampa. And then Wednesday, you had to go to Miami. So we either drove to Miami or fly, sometimes either or. Or we'd always be home every night. Thursday, it'd be a spot show. Every Friday, it'd be Tallahassee or Jacksonville, back and forth. Saturday, it'd be a spot show. Every Sunday would be Orlando, and that was the Eddie Graham Sports Arena. And that's even over Portland, and I love the Portland fans in Oregon, Portland wrestling, but in Orlando, in the Eddie Graham Sports Arena was the greatest fans in the world, bar none. The greatest fans, and man, my heart always goes to you people, because there's 5,000, 4,000 people in an arena that looks like UFC does today. UFC. I don't know if I said it, but my buddy, I don't know if I should involve UFC in this, but Randy Couture, a really good friend of mine, he came back and won the world title, heavyweight title at 44. Matt Lindland and all those guys, Dana White. That's what I love, is UFC. I said that before, I know. Maybe that got ADD too. Little humor there. I do got a little humor left. Yeah. Yeah. And so, what happens next is this. Orlando on Sunday, I don't know what happened, but I got into it with Dusty Rhodes back in the locker room. And everybody, when you're a booker in this business, they want to back the booker and not you. And the other guys wanted me out. Eddie once again came in, backed me up. I didn't like you, Dusty. I still don't like you. I called you a fat fuck before, and I'll call you one again. I don't know how. Well, you and Vince belong together. You know that? I can see the storyline now. When I see it, Enos to penis. I understand you doing the booking now, and the storyline. It makes a lot of sense. That's gross. That's sick, man. And so from there, in '84, we had this big outdoor show. Billy Graham and I are wrestling. Blood's everywhere. Full Nelson versus Full Nelson. Nobody gets paid. Next thing you know, Dusty Rhodes pulls out, like I said in my last interview, takes 9 people away that follow him like sheep, such a prick you were, and left Eddie Graham all alone. I stayed, even though they wanted me to go to Texas and become Billy Von Erich to help the Von Erichs out, because their family was so riddled with tragedy and at that time, drug addiction. But I stayed on with you, Eddie. We couldn't make it. See, 1 guy couldn't make it, 2 guys couldn't make it, everybody pulled out. We had to have a whole bunch of new guys. Finally, I was up in your office, and you told me one-on-one, and you're not here today, but you told me one day you're going to flip a coin, either you're going to kill that motherfucker, Rhodes, Dusty Rhodes, or you're going to kill yourself. And I said, I didn't take it at face value, but I had done that myself. I just wasn't going to get into it with you. My dad hurt so bad one time, I was going to shoot him and then shoot myself. That's how bad it was. So I know what depression is. And so what happens is, he told me to go ahead and fly my wings, man. That the WWF just took over. That Vince Sr. died in May of '84, and Vince Jr.'s going on this tirade. And So here we go, guys. Get ready for some bombshells here. What's that Nancy Grace say? Bombshell tonight! Back again, ladies and gentlemen. We took a little break there. With the cameraman here. How you doing, Joe?
Good, good.
Good. Relaxing. Rob, how you doing?
Good.
Tough Tim. What's up? Got to know my buddies here. But once again, I want to reiterate that they have no idea what I'm saying. I do. Because I've had to live this life. And one thing that I do want to explain, what I didn't explain, that my mother also died a month after my uncle. Remember, go back a little bit when she was, when I pulled my aunt off, she went to the hospital. 3 days later, she suddenly died. No one knew why. She was smothered by her sister. If I told anybody about it, they'd say I raped a 3-year-old girl. They'd all gang up on me. So it was all twisted around. And one more quick thing. Their daughter, Cheryl, married a guy named Danny. They adopted a kid named Amy. And she was also molested by Danny Davis. Right, Danny? That sounded like a referee at a WWF back when I was there. Dangerous Danny Davis. Well, you know Danny Davis, you're a pedophile too. So anyway, forget about that. That'll be some other time. But I wanted that to be on record. So we're in. Some of you guys looking at me, you may think that, hey, God, Billy Jack is really an asshole. Like Billy Jack Haynes. God, what's he doing? Who does this guy think he is? Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you've listened to what I'm saying, it's a guy that's really given a dying declaration. So I'm talking to you, it's actually live. See, it's live. But by the time it gets back to you, I'll probably be dead. Good chance. It's like flipping a coin. Get it? So, what happens is Eddie Graham tells me, Billy, go where the money is at. I said, Eddie, I want to stay with you, man. You look like my Uncle Red. That's why I called him Uncle Eddie Graham, Uncle Eddie. And his son's name is Mike Graham. He's also a wrestler. So lo and behold, here we go, Vince. We're getting to you. See, we got to build it up. Building it up. So all of a sudden, here you come down to Tampa. At the time, I didn't even know it, but that's where Hulk Hogan lived. And so I guess that's where Hulk went one day to meet superstar Billy Graham down there to break into business earlier in the 70s. That's Terry Boulder. That's what Billy Graham told me later on. But what I'll tell you now is the fact that Vince came down to recruit me because his father had died. It was not the WWW Worldwide Wrestling Federation anymore, by his dad, who I know on his deathbed said, son, Vince Jr., Vince Killer McMahon, sorry, Jr., please don't go into anybody's territory, please. It's an unwritten rule. Don't do it. Don't go into their territory. Let the guys have it. Vern Gagne have it, AWA, NWA, Harley Race, everybody has their territory. Eddie Graham, Don Owen, Von Erichs, right? Carolinas, the Crockett's. Don't creep into nobody's territory, even though it's you can. It's an unwritten rule. You don't do it. So what you do is come down to Florida. You want to talk to me. Eddie okays it. I go out there. You're in a limousine. Remember? You come in the limo. Because you want Billy Jack at 6'4", 270, with the 36-inch waist and the 59-inch chest, that can dunk a basketball and do all kinds of kip-ups and stuff and wrestle. You like that. And your son, Sean, liked that when he was a kid. Remember? So, here we go. I'm sorry. I know I hit it hard, man. I'm sorry. Well, I'm on my last leg. So, it was Nancy Doss and a girl named Linda and a photographer named Bill Otten had me on 20-some front covers down there and had me as Wrestler of the Year, sexiest Wrestler of the Year. Do you believe that? I wasn't having to do sex with nobody, but I couldn't. But they had me anyway. They were pushing me. It's all the work. but they were pushing me, and Vince knew it. So he came down to see what the noise was about, to see me on video, and he come down with Hulk Hogan, because Hulk lived in Tampa and was also at that time the champion of the new WWF. Vince was making plans on taking every superstar or star or whatever you want to call it out of every territory, kill that territory so he could monopoly all the way out to the West Coast. Comes down to me. You convince me, Vince, I'll make 10, 15,000 a week. It's going to be between me and Hulk Hogan. There wasn't even a WrestleMania yet. In fact, you don't think you had even named it. You were coming up with some kind of names when we were talking there in the limousine. You said you're gonna make it the biggest thing in the world, which you've done. You were right. No question. No one can argue with you there, Vince. But you were looking for a name, and I said, hey, the Portland Trailblazers, back when I was home, they called it Blazer Mania. That was in 1977 when they won the NBA championship when they beat the Philadelphia team. Okay, so there we go. Blazer Mania, and all of a sudden we hear a WrestleMania. Do I take credit for it? No. Did it stick in your head? Probably yes, it did. But that don't make no difference. Here's what happens. I give my notice to Eddie Graham. And that was in October, November of '84. I go back home to see my dad. Eddie was very depressed. And I talked to Eddie before I left. I said, you're going to be okay. He said, yeah, I was just kidding about flipping the coin and all that stuff. I'm going to kill this. I said, please don't. I want to keep in touch with you. You remind me of my uncle, and if I could ever love another man other than my own father as kin, it would be you. And, I don't know if Mike Graham was right or wrong with that. I don't think he liked that. I don't think he liked that. I'm not putting your dad down, Mike. I really liked your dad very much. So I go home. I see my dad. Vince would fly me in, fly me out, fly me in, fly me out, fly me in, do all these promotions on me. But at that time, before the first flight, we got to go back with Nancy Doss, who ended up marrying Kevin Sullivan later and then down the line. Just remember, at that time, Nancy Doss was in the picture because Nancy Doss was going to be my valet. She wanted in the business. She loved the business. And she was on, hang on one second. She was on a front cover magazine with me here. Here we go. Pardon me for a minute here. But that's Nancy Doss right here. As you see her, that's Nancy right here. She wanted to be a manager in the business really bad. She ended up being a manager of 17 different wrestlers, but I would have been the first. And that's her. That's in 1984 in the summer, or winter. Okay, oh, and there's another one. Turn it over, there she is again. Here, and that's friend Linda, taken by the best photographer in pro wrestling, Bill Otten. Okay, so this is what I didn't do last time. I didn't talk ill of the dead, because I don't believe in that. But I have to now, because it's all part of this here super shoot. It's all part of it. When I was upstairs, Nancy said, well, in a limousine, she went out there, introduced herself to both Vince McMahon Jr., Vince Killer McMahon Jr., sorry, I forgot the K, and the Hulkster. Don't think of me bad on this, please. Just the truth. And there was oral sex in the limousine. And she told me that. And I never had sexual relations with her at all. I'm not Bill Clinton, I'm Billy Jack. But she was going to be my valet. If you've watched the movie Billy Jack, at that time that's who I was. And she was going to be the Dolores Taylor. And we were going to ride horses to the ring on big shows, in WrestleMania, whatever. We were going to ride horses to the ring, just like Billy Jack and Dolores Taylor did, and she was going to be my wife, Dolores Taylor. Or, it's over there, I know I'm screwing it up. So anyway, here's the first magazine to prove I'm not full of shit. You zoom in on that, that's the Christmas edition Because Vince is trying to say, oh no, I never wanted you, Billy. I never wanted Billy Jack. No, I didn't want him. Well, who the fuck is that? See, you're a liar again, Vince. You've already proved you're a liar so many times. Now I'm going to prove it so many more before I'm done here. There's a hoaxer leading the pack. There's a female wrestler, Wendy Richter. There's me with my arm around Wendy Richter. Probably, you got me probably fueling up the hoaxer too. I don't know. Then there's Barry Windham back there doing something to me. But that's how it was. And that's the new edition before WrestleMania 1. And I was going to be here. It was between Hulk and I for the #1 position, is what you told me. And it's all the work. But at that time, it was all about saving money, opening up a gym, and going back to my dad retiring at 35. So what happens next is you fly me in to Chicago. Wow, I'm ready to go. 20,000 people to Chicago. I think it's a Rosemont Horizon. So many places, Chicago. Rob, can you help me out here?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. It could be the Rosemont Horizon.
It could be. It was. I don't know if there was one that the Bulls played in yet or not. I got. Pardon me, just for a second. Sprite. And so I went on there, and Vince promoted me really well. I had a really good match. Full Nelson was established. Come back to the dressing room. There was, King Kong Bundy, John Studd, Randy Savage. Everybody was there. British Bulldogs. Or were they? I don't know if they were there or not yet. But there was a lot of superstars there. And Chief J. Strongbow, the agent, was there, and he patted me on the back and said, "Man, way to go, man, real good." And they were real happy. There didn't seem to be too much jealousy. And so I was excited about it myself, and I missed my dad, and I like to talk to my dad almost every night. And you understand why. It was my dad's dream, not mine. I didn't like wrestling, and I'm being honest with you. I called my dad, my brother answered, and like my life has gone since I was a baby, my dad had a stroke and was in ICU, hospital. I told the agent, Chief J. Strongbow at that time, in tears, that my dad had a stroke and that I have to go home. And J. Strongbow said to me, no. Right, Jay? You always win as the Indian, but you're Italian, right? You told me, I'm calling Vince. You got to talk to Vince. I said, well, you talk to Vince. I'm out of here. I can't take it. My dad's everything in my whole life. So Vince gets on the phone, tells me, Billy, you can't leave. You got to stay. I got you in the Madison Square Garden. I got you promoting this, doing that. We're having WrestleMania 1 and all this. I said, Vince, you can put $1 billion, $10 trillion. No money's going to buy my dad. My dad's more important than anything. I didn't know then like I know now, but now I know why. Because, Vince, you didn't love your dad like I love mine. You love that fucking money. That's what you love. Yeah, you're a billionaire, successful billionaire. A billionaire pedophile. You want to be that? Hey, that's great. But that's not me. No money can buy off my dad. When your dad died and what you've done, he'd roll over in his grave and slap you right alongside the head too, wouldn't he? All the old timers agree with me on that one too. But I said, fuck you. And I left. You said, no, you're fired. Whatever. I left or fired. Who gives a shit? I'm gone, man. So I went home. And that was it to me. I was done with wrestling. And I got a bad rap. Vince, in fact, they have this, what's this, 24/7 thing on? And I don't watch it, but people watch it all the time. Keep telling me I'm on all these old matches in WWF. And that just this week, or it's on now, Gorilla Monsoon said that I left. I wasn't ready in 1984 to come to the WWF. And Gorilla Monsoon is deceased, and he always treated me good. And Gorilla and Joey Morello was his son, right. The referee that died. And Joey was a great guy, and you guys, they got nothing against you, okay? Good people. But he just was covering for Vince, saying that Billy Jack wasn't ready in 1984 to come to the WWF. He was smart to wait because this is where the toughest league is. Yeah, well, even though, I was ranked, number 1, number 2 in the world, I wasn't ready, you dumb fuck. Vince Killer McMahon Jr. You lied again, see? You're a liar. Just a total liar. And you're a killer. We're going to get into that, don't worry. Told you, the climax. Bombshell tonight's coming. Okay, so. Oh, I'm loving this, man. Vince, you're going to hate it. And there's going to be a whole lot of people, I hope, boycott your ass. I'd like to see you get shut down, Vince. I really would. I'd like to see him shut your ass down. And if the TNA really isn't a part of you, and what I've seen lately, you're going to get shut down. Saying penis with little kids right there in the front row and having them fake signs up like this. Hey, hey! I love Vince. You got him positioned right. You know the propaganda rule, don't you? You phony fuck. Okay? So, just a minute. I'll jump ahead of myself. So, here's the deal, Vince. I go home. You say I'm no good, was fired, blah, blah, blah. So I go home now, I'm with Portland Wrestling. I'm done. Who gives me a call? Eddie Graham gives me a call the first week of January, tells me to come down to Fritz Von Erich. I did anything Eddie told me. He's the only one other than my dad and my uncle I ever listened to as a man. Uncle Eddie Graham. So I said, what are you talking about? He said, Billy, you can make $4 or $5 grand a week down here with the Von Erichs. Come on down here, just be Billy Jack or be Billy Von Erich. They might change the name. No, I'm not going to change my name. But I went down there. So I'm there about a month. The Von Erichs, God bless them, they're just great kids. They were just so screwed up with I don't think they wanted to be wrestlers. Their dad, Fritz Von Erich, was. Now I think they're all deceased, but Kevin Von Erich, I think.
Right.
All committed suicide or overdosed on drugs. It was David first in '84, David Von Erich. Then he was Mike Von Erich, took a handful of Valium or something, zipped up a sleeping bag and died. And Kerry, I want to get into a little bit because Kerry and I were pretty close, and I want to really nail Vince's ass on that one. So we'll go a little later on Kerry. And I don't know when Chris died. Do you know?
I don't remember the year, but it was after.
Was it after Kerry or before? Do you remember?
I think it was after.
Yeah, I should have done my homework a little better. Thank you. So I went down there for a month, and I just couldn't handle it. They had a manager named Sunshine, a female, and they had me rooming with her, and once again, it was totally nothing. It just didn't work. They sold out more than Vince did, though, and Vince was real jealous of that. And but I couldn't stay there. It wasn't for me. There was just too much. But what did happen down there, the real Billy Jack came down. Tom Laughlin came down and told me I had to change my name from Billy Jack to something else. So I thought I was getting set up by Fritz Von Erich to be Billy Von Erich. And so we agreed on Billy Jack Haynes, and I told Fritz, I said, I'm out of here, man. No notice, no nothing. I'll admit it on that one. That's the first time I left the territory without notice. And I went back to Portland once again. And then I thought I'd just finish my career there. I already had about 75, 80 grand put away. Had paid my taxes, everything was okay. And Portland, I was just wrestling out there. Don Owens was happy again. I was happy. I was with my dad. I was very content. Loved being with my dad because I didn't know how long he was going to last with juvenile diabetes and in a wheelchair. And things are going great there. And in 1985, I get a call. This is good. I get a call from the Chief Wahoo McDaniel. And I didn't know Chief at this time. I had never met him. And but he was God, I hope I didn't mess this up. I told you I'm a little out of it, people. But Wahoo, where'd you go, buddy? Come back to me, Chief. Oh no. Yeah, if you guys could see Chief in there, man, would you find it just gives me to go back on camera? I'm sorry. But Chief Wahoo McDaniel was the greatest pure Indian athlete that there was. I mean, he was not just a scratch golfer. He was played with the New York Jets in professional football. He had at one time the longest punt in NFL history. I think Randall Cunningham broke it. Wind-aided 91-yard punt or something like that. But Chief Wahoo McDaniel and I became good friends and became solid work, but we became U.S. Tag Team Champions. And Ravishing Rick Rude had started in Tennessee with Jerry Lawler, Jerry the Queen Lawler. I don't call him the King, the Queen. Anybody who messes with a 12-year-old girl is a queen. Another pedophile. Right, Jerry? We'll get into you a little bit later, too, for the climax. Because you and Vince really sleep in the same bed anyway. So, I guess Dusty Rhodes does now, too. So, come on now, Brain. Wait a second. Get in there, Okay. So, Dusty, where am I at, man? I mean,
we're talking about
banged up a little.
At this point, what were
yeah,
Wahoo. Yeah.
Okay. You know, Wahoo was a guy who was just great. Yeah, how can I forget that? So Wahoo brings in Rick Rude, and Rick Rude and I are having a great match. We worked together really good, as I did with Hercules when he was there in '84. I forgot to mention that. But what I remember about Wahoo is back in the territory. And my dad let me go. My dad said yes or no. That's the way it was. He was my booker, and I was making $2,500 a week in Florida, home every night, sent home to my brothers and my dad every night, money. And what happened was we were at a casino, and I want to put this in because Wahoo McDaniel passed away in 2002. It was a great loss in our industry because, man, he didn't take no shit off nobody either, did he, Dusty? Kicked the shit out of you, didn't he? I was right there. I seen it. Loved it. And so, lo and behold, Wahoo and I go to the Bahamas in Florida. But once a month, once every 2 months, we go to the Bahamas. And so, there's a guy who has like $1,000 of chips here, and he's playing $100 a hand or 10,000 in chips. The Wahoo got a little intoxicated. He's playing $25 a hand, hitting on 17 in blackjack, and getting threes, taking the guy's card. The other guy's losing his ass, and so Wahoo McDaniel takes all the chips and blows them off the table, and the guy stands up, and everybody comes running over and says, "Get him out of here right now! Get Wahoo out of here!" And I said, "Okay, I'll get him out." So I got one of those carts, and Wahoo had kind of passed out, and I got him out. I got him out of the cart. He goes, "You know who that guy was that Wahoo just took the chips over?" And he had like 10, 20,000 worth of chips. He was one of the Gambino crime family guys. So, I mean, he was just a great guy, my kind of guy. You know, I like that. I like living on the edge, kind of. And that was my deal with Wahoo. Then we went down to, in the last of 1985, they had Starrcade 85. And the Crockett's were down there trying to convince me to come down there all the time. I didn't want nothing to do with them because when Dusty Rhodes moved those 9 guys down to Crockett's, I wanted nothing to do with you. Got to make this short because I already told you about that on the last tape, but I will tell you again quickly. I went down there for a month. 5,000 week guarantee come Starrcade. They didn't pay me my guarantee. Dusty was booking. I shouldn't have went there anyway, and I only lasted a month. Didn't do. They lied to me about my money, and they made Wahoo do the job. I didn't like that. Like the old guy. The old guy's always done the jobs in the way out. I didn't like that, and so I left once again. So now I was kind of becoming a road warrior. And the Road Warriors probably the greatest tag team ever in professional wrestling. You know, really like both those guys a lot. They were probably over more than any tag team that I've ever seen in professional wrestling, and that was at their peak. And they usually stood back to back with me on a lot of things. And anyway, I just liked them. There wasn't many people. I always drove alone, and I liked them. Wahoo liked you. Not too many other people. Rude, few people. Hercules, but there's hundreds more I didn't ever get along with because the old sociopath sickness. So what happens? Once again, here goes me. Now I'm packing. Now I'm going back to Oregon again. My dad, even being blind, is wondering, man, what the hell's wrong with my son? You know. I hope he hasn't, lost his brain. He was getting his brains beat in because, see, my dad thought professional wrestling was 100% shoot. I would never tell him anything any different. Never. It's like I never told him about me being child raped. Can you imagine me doing that now while he's blind and crippled? That would totally demand my father. So I would never say anything about nothing. So, went to Portland, 86. 85, I wrestled Flair in front of 13,000. They said I was going to be NWA champion. I didn't care. That never happened. Someone voted it down. I think it was Fritz von Erich. 86 comes along, and I'm going Portland wrestling in Japan. In Japan, my first tour, I made $5,000 a week for Inoki, and then 6, 7. So I was making good money there. I was content with that. Lo and behold, in the August of 1986, I get a phone call. And it's from George Scott, who's booking for the WWF, World Wrestling Federation, who still hadn't taken over the world yet. There were, Vince, what I said before, Adolf Hitler McMahon was making his move. He's making it. But, it took Adolf a little while, too. He thought he conquered the world, too. That's why I know you're going down, Vince, because Adolf Hitler went down. So you're going down, too. It's just common knowledge. Got to happen. He's just got to. So the bombshell's on ice still, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming here. So we get to 86. I said to my dad, "You want me to go?" He says, "Just retired 35, son." At that time in 86, I was 33. Just turned 33. So 2 years. I said, I think I can handle Vince Killer McMahon's Junior's shit for another 2 years. So you know what? I agreed with my dad, and I went down there. I was told to make 8,000 to 10,000 a week, and I'll give you credit for that, Vince. That's exactly what I made, 8,000 to 10,000 a week. But here's where the bottom line is in your World Wrestling Federation that was away from all the other territories that I've shown you all earlier, the 15 territories, 12, 15, was that every night the wrestler was home. So he could rebound if he was hurt. He could see his family, his kids. Here's your plot. To go ahead, pay that big money, super big money, and as of yet, all I had taken was steroids. I had never, ever taken any drugs, any strong drugs, painkillers. All I had at that time was a fractured ankle, I broke my left elbow and broken about 8 fingers. That's how tough this business is. And I was a good enough athlete to where I could prevent that, but I still was injured. There was guys that had monstrous injuries that died in the ring, actually. Come on. How much worse can you get than that? So, in August of 86, I went in. September, October, November. All I can remember is this, Vince. I was married at the time. Forgot to tell you about that. Married Selena, the girl from Cuba. So I was married. That was to prove that I wasn't a homosexual. And I already said I don't have nothing against any homosexuals, but that's to prove I wasn't. And we had to fly now, where there was no more of this driving and being home every night. So you had guys on tour that I've seen personally that were on tour for 30, 60, and 90 days straight, Vince. Now I'm talking about traveling all over North America, man, and not seeing their family. And you know what? In the NBA, NFL, like I said, there's no union. There's no players union in wrestling. There is in all these other major leagues. And here you are, you're drawing more money now than these other guys, and you're not taking care of your wrestlers. You're not taking care of them. So when a wrestler is injured, hey, you didn't give a shit. You just replaced him. You were trying to take the top star to every territory, like I said. So here we go. It was after Christmas. I got 2 days off. I'm so burned out. You gave everybody 3 days off for Christmas. And man, thanks, man. That's great. You know, when you got your back is broke, you know, you got a vertebrae that's torn or a knee ligament out. So all of a sudden, it was in December, right before Christmas, you introduced me for the first time to Dr. Zohorian. I think everybody knows Dr. Zohorian. There was a trial in '91 over him, right, Vince? But what happened was you're supposed to go into there easy with the commissioner in Pennsylvania, and that was your drug connection, right, Vince? And you let the wrestlers have that connection because you knew the wrestlers weren't satisfied on the plane with all the injuries. They had to be out. So you let them have the Xanax to sleep on the plane, wake up all groggy, wherever you're going from New York to LA, you got off the plane, got your stuff, you had to get to the hotel. I mean, you got to the hotel, you had to eat something. That night you had to dress down or you had to go to the gym, you tried to tan, you tried to be a human being, and you had to go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I seen so many guys doing drugs, and I had no part of it. I didn't want to do with it. I said, I'll never do it. And all of a sudden I tore my knee out. He did the same thing to me, wouldn't give me any time off. So in January I started taking Vicodin with Dr. Zohorian. It was kind of not funny, but in Hershey, Pennsylvania, that's where Dr. Zohorian would come and supposed to check your blood pressure, but he'd come in with his big suitcase, man. And in the suitcase was, he could barely pull it. I'm talking about a huge rolling suitcase full of steroids, every drug you can think of with wrestlers lined up around the corner, and it's like a list for somebody else to get. So that was Vince's connection for his wrestlers to keep them content with no union. So that's where the steroids came in. We bought them from Zohorian. That's where the Xanax, the painkillers, that was content to wrestlers. Now, if you're away for 2 months from your wife, you're going to commit adultery because the women in rock and roll, it's just like wrestling's rock and roll. A lot of the guys, they did that, and they couldn't see their families. A lot of guys were divorced over all your bullshit. Money. What it became, it was like this. You were the pimp. You really were. Be honest, man. You were a fucking pimp. You pimped the pro wrestlers out. You were a promoter pimp. You know what we were? We were the traveling professional wrestling prostitutes. Because we were all hooked on drugs. I hadn't even taken them then. But now I had to wrestle with a sore knee, a torn knee ligament, so I started taking Vicodin too. I got, wow, man, this is good stuff. Next thing it was 4, 6, 8. Next thing you know, I'm a complete stone cold addict in February of 1987. And I'm wrestling Hercules here pretty soon in WrestleMania 3. And I would say out of the 25 to 30, I don't know how many wrestlers you had under contract, probably 57, 60, but 90% were addicted to, you always claim steroids. Well, steroids don't kill you, Vince. They don't kill you. They just make you big, make you strong, make you fast, and make you heal from the injuries. Like I said, football, they take their time off. Wrestling, we didn't. So, in all reality, with no time off, most of the guys were getting divorced. They were losing their kids, couldn't see their families. And just think about that. You're looking at me. Think about that, putting yourself in a pro wrestler's position. Being a professional stuntman is what we really are. All being predetermined by the promoter. So it falls in the promoter's lap. You see what I'm saying? Vince was a promoter, so it falls in his lap. I became an addict. I could have walked away. So it's kind of my fault too. I could have walked away. But it just, WrestleMania was coming up, big payday. I want to wrestle Hercules Hernandez, Andre the Giant. WrestleMania 3 is going to wrestle Hulk Hogan. Randy Savage against Steamboat. Piper against Adonis. And let me tell you something. Here we go. Let's go to WrestleMania 3. I hope I haven't screwed everything up and got you all out of whack. Have I? I mean, I feel like I might have. Wow, wide awake. Man, I'm not on that methadone no more, so don't worry about that. It's just WrestleMania 3, 2 hours prior, we're in the locker room. I'm wrestling Hercules Hernandez in the Full Nelson versus Full Nelson match. And we're in a semi-main event position. Here comes Vince McMahon in the dressing room, and he says, "You guys are on second." And Hercules and I both said, "What the fuck are you talking about, Vince?" He said, "We got a cut and pay. We're in a semi-main event position." And he goes, "No, we don't want you taken away from Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan." And he says, "Billy, you're going to bleed tonight." I said, "What?" He goes, "You're going to bleed tonight." I said, "Wait, you stop bleeding. You stop juicing because of the AIDS virus and the hepatitis C and all that. We're going to do that no more, right, Vince?" He goes, working the angle with his chain with Hercules and Bobby Heenan, his manager. And we went ahead and did it. We were so wired, we had already taken like 10, 15 Vicodin apiece. Hercules had forgot his boots. Another very good friend of mine, one guy I trusted. He forgot his boots, so the size 13 white boots, if you see him in WrestleMania, that's what he wore. He was shot with cortisone in the knee. I was shot with cortisone. Vince had 2 or 3 doctors back there. Now listen to me close on this. Everybody from the outside, the 100,000 people at the Detroit Pontiac Silverdome, from the outside looking in, was all excited. Man, they couldn't wait. Oh, it was the greatest thing. And it was a great promotion, Vince. But tell them the truth, really, what happened back in the locker room with the wrestlers. You know, this is a Kentucky fucking derby, man. Of all the professional wrestling. Almost 100,000 fans at the Silverdome, man. But back in the dressing room, if we were racehorses, every fucking wrestler would have been scratched. If we were racehorses. Everybody was injured. Everybody was hurt. Everybody was high on drugs, including you, Vince. I remember the line of cocaine that was out there. About 10 lines. You snorted a line. Piper snorted a line. Hogan snorted a line. Adonis snorted a line. Oh, Jake the Snake. Hey, sorry, Jake. You're one of the biggest drug addicts in the business, man. You're all right, but it's the truth. You know you did it. That's who I remember doing it. Everybody else was on there. Morphine, Davey Boy Smith. Dynamite Kid's back was broke. You made him wrestle instead of just paying him. Asshole, man. Oh, you thought you were just Adolf Hitler, but boy, you want to be one of the boys, but you didn't want to let us get too close. So after you snorted your line, now everything's ready to go. We got to get everything ready. I had to make my blade, put it in my wrist, because I'm gonna juice in front of 100 million or what was it? 100,000 people and 200 million or 20 million pay-per-view. Stupidest thing I ever heard of. Well, the cameras actually, they actually see me trying to take the blade out, and I couldn't get it out. So in the ring, Hercules had to hit me with the chain. I told him in the ring, I said, lay it in, and boy, he did. 40 stitched me up. But, you know, that's the way we worked. We knew the carny language in the ring. So, after WrestleMania, like I said, if we were racehorses, it would have been a scratch. So we weren't even treated like racehorses. We were treated like pure shit on the floor. Don't go, poor Billy, please. Don't say that. If some of you did. Because if you'd have been in that locker room, and Vince being the head guy and the promoter, and everyone is a drug addict, which is now proven to be true. Has it not? That was 1987. Now, haven't I proven what I'm telling you now is the truth? I never wanted to say this. But you need to know the truth. And the truth is very simple. It's right here. Okay. The reason I come down here today, let me show you the reason I come down here today. There we go. Okay. You know, you have to have motivation, you know, and from 1987 to 2002, you know, Vince, I didn't have no motivation. I was a drug addict. I don't want to go into the detail of the promotion because that's going to take too long. I'll be here 5 hours. So I did try and be a promoter and I failed, but I tried to work with Don Owen against you, and all you did was work against us until you took Don Owen off TV, myself. We all crumpled. You had the commissioner, Bruce Anderson, eating right out of your hand. You knew exactly what was going on with Chief J. Strongbow, going back and forth, right? You and Pat Patterson back then, you knew what was going on, and you didn't want no one promoting against you. And I said, I'm going to try and take you out of business with $1 million I saved. I opened the gym, had Hulk Hogan there, and I was going to say, fuck you, I'm done. But I didn't do that, because Hulk just said he wasn't going to come, and like an idiot, I went on. In October of 1987, I overdosed, Vince, on the plane. Ravishing Rick Rude, Dino Bravo, and Brady Boone, who went as my cousins, saved my life. And they're all dead now, Vince. All of them. One murdered, one overdosed, one died in a car wreck. It was all drug related. They were all addicts, just like me. How could you not be in your field, man? 90 days at a time. If you're hurt, no time off. Traveling. Prostitutes, man. I was a prostitute. I was a prostitute, paid $10,000 a week. Bitch. So now we got to zoom it up. Okay. Here's where I'm going to prove how much of a fucking liar you are, Vince. First of all, the motivation that made me get here today and call RF Video and tell him just let me say what I want to say, and he's let me do it in my way, no other else's way, just me. Because wrestling fans have the right. They're the ones that's made you into what, 300 or 400 a billionaire, right? So they have the right to know the truth from a guy who's been there at the top of the business and now is on the bottom. I'm on the very bottom of this business. I'm on food stamps and SSI at age 55, and I'm dying of a disease that I probably got from you. And we're going to get to that real soon. You write me a letter, Vince, that I just received, and if you zoom in on this, March 24th, 2009. Here's a letter. You can zoom in and see at the very bottom, it's from Vince McMahon. Can you see that clear? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to read the letter to you. WWE, because now, suddenly after Owen Hart died, which we're going to get to that, it's going to be really interesting on that. 2002, you said there's some kind of wildlife bullshit and changed it to WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. I call it World Wrestling Egos. That's what I call it. But March 24, 2009, Mr. William Haynes. Dear William and family, well, I haven't got no family left. Everybody's dead pretty much in my family, but I've got a half-brother and a brother. Over the last 10 years, an inordinate number of wrestlers have passed away. Some of those deaths may be in part have been caused by drugs and alcohol. In an effort to help prevent such tragedies in the future, the WWE is offering to pay for drug and or alcohol rehabilitation at a certified treatment center chosen by the WWE for any performer with a prior WWE booking contract who may need this service. That's the first paragraph. Now, WWE I had nothing to do with. I was a WWF. That's what I was. So, you changed the corporation from WWF to WWE. So, in other words, you were forced to write this. You were forced to write this, weren't you? Absolutely 100%. The WWE will pay for this service in full. There is no cost to you or your family. Help will be provided regardless of your circumstances or of your departure of WWE. Me, right? Or the amount of time you perform the WWE. If you do not have a drug and or alcohol problem, well, who the fuck didn't? Who the fuck didn't in the 80s, you dumb shit? And I'm going to get into all the guys that have died of overdoses because of you in a minute. And a couple of murders. And then the bombshell I'm going to say for last. Vince Killer McMahon. That's what the K stands for. Not Kennedy, Killer. The WWE will pay for our service in full. Hey, no family, blah, 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 blah. All it really says, if you do not have a drug and or alcohol problem, but you know as a performer, WWE performer that does, please let me know. And Russo Gordon will do this. She's available. Says, this service provides any performer, no matter how you left, blah, 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 sign Vincent K. or Killer McMahon. That's what you sent me. So what you did, it was wake up a sleeping giant that I was so out of it, Vince, that I couldn't have done nothing. I had no motivation. That's what made me get a hold of somebody who let me have my freedom of speech right in the United States and say what I'm going to say, and I'm going to fucking say it. Okay? And you know, the funny thing about it is no one's ever told you what to do, Vince. Oh, we argued many times, man. Don't you remember? Well, I pushed you on your ass one time, right? Remember that one? But here's what happened. The Congressional Congress, can you zoom in on this? Henry Waxman, the representative, made you. So you didn't do this on your own. You were forced to send this to everybody that was still alive. Well, you've toned it down a little bit now, Vince, right? You've toned it down. Why have you? Well, I wonder why. Let's get into that. Okay, here we go. Here we go. We're getting towards the bombshell now. Geez, I'm scared, Vince. Geez, you're scaring the shit out of me. Fuck you. I'm still alive. I'm speaking for the dead, man. I'm speaking for the dead wrestlers that are 6 feet under. You know, you didn't just kill the wrestler with addiction and overdose. You killed the family, man. They had wives, they had children, they had brothers, they had sisters, they had cousins, they had aunts, they had nieces. Vincent Killer McMahon Jr., you understand that? They all had families. Maybe I was fucked up and didn't, but they did. Now, here we go. First off, before I get into all these wrestlers that have died under your watch. Eddie Graham. Eddie Graham. Let me get into this real quick, because this just happened March 29th of 2008. And this is a real insult to me. And it's an insult to you, Mike Graham, as being Eddie Graham's father. I'm telling you this right now, because I know you're probably up there with Dusty Rhodes, booking for the WWE, because you go where the buck is, I guess. Nobody could buy me up, Mike. Eddie Graham, zoom in here, please. This man, the greatest promoter I've ever met in pro wrestling, Honest Eddie, Uncle Eddie Graham, who committed suicide January 2005, shot himself in the head. So like I say, he must have flipped it. He called heads or tails. He must have called tails, because you're still alive, Dusty Rhodes. I sure wish you would have been a head and blown your fucking head off instead of his. Well, you got yourself what's called the WWE Hall of Fame now, that you yourself vote and put in, right? You go back a couple months later, someone told me you got a Hollywood Star of Fame. You should be 6 foot under that motherfucker. You don't deserve that. I'll tell you that right now. You should be under that, Vince Killer McMahon Jr. You had the balls of brass to put a dead man who hated your guts, couldn't stand you, to put him in your WWE Hall of Fame, and he was inducted posthumously. You know, I'm not brain dead. I know what that means. That means after death. You didn't talk about anything he did before, when you were together with him, and put him in your WWE Hall of Fame, and Mike Graham accepted the honor on behalf of his father. If Eddie knew this, man, he'd kick your ass so far, he'd have shot you 100 times. So I want to get that out of the way right now. Before I get into Chris Benoit, So let me compose myself just for a second. Thanks. First, let's go here. Let's go here. I want to see your first victim. Your first victim was me. Yeah, me. I overdosed on the plane. Rick Rude, Brady Boone. I went into the hospital. I almost died. They said I had to have a pacemaker put in or electric shock. I took the shock treatment. I lived. Thank goodness Brady Boone was there. Anyway, I went home for 2 days. I had to take medication for my heart. On the third day, you called me. Didn't ask how I was, Vince. How you doing, Billy? Your heart okay? No. You didn't want anybody to die of a drug overdose. You didn't want that knowledge out there because you didn't want that, right? So you propagandized it. You know what you did? You told me, Billy, you got to work the California towns, man. I got you in the main events out there in Sacramento, LA, and Fresno or something like that. You got to work those 3 days and I'll give you 2 days off, then you got to come back to work. You didn't give a fuck about me, but once again, there's no union. I could have walked away and I should have. But I wanted to come back because I really in my mind had a plan one day just to beat you to fucking death, man. I really did. That was my plan. To jerk you into a fight and somehow just pound your ass to death. And I could have too. I almost did. Here's your first victim. I made it, thank God. I was in critical condition, walked out of there, went home, but I made it. But I don't know how I did. Adrian Adonis. Your first habit was him. He was a cocaine addict. It's a gospel truth. Everybody in pro wrestling knows I'm not lying. And Vince, you fired him because he was so bad. Even though you did cocaine with him, you fired him. And a few months later, he dies in a car wreck. I'm sure high. Adrian wasn't a bad guy. He's just an addict like I was and every other one of your professional wrestlers were. Prostitutes, pimp, Mr. Pimp. There's one down. Got to go to this guy, Buzz Sawyer. First, here's he is. He suplexed me in the concrete, one of the best workers ever in the business. Well, he came to you, Vince, too. He came to you for work. But he was doing drugs, too. Right along with you. But he told you to go fuck yourself like I did, pretty much. He later was involved in a murder, involved with a gang, involved with the same thing I was, and ended up getting murdered. He was a good friend of mine. And Matt Bourne's dead. One hell of a wrestler, one hell of a man, and had enough balls to tell you to stick it up your ass. He's dead. Won't blame that one on you. Okay? Let's go now to this. This is really disturbing for me. Because you knew going in, Kerry Von Erich. You want to take the Texas territory away, world-class wrestling, with Fritz Von Erich as a promoter. You wanted to take it away, so you took its major star. Who was left? Kerry Von Erich. Even though you knew he was addicted to drugs. One hell of a man, and please, children, don't get mad at me for this. This is a super shoot interview. You've got to be truthful. You were so high on drugs. He was so high on drugs, and you, Vince. You took him in. He made you money. As soon as Texas faltered and went down, you went in, stole that territory, and then you told Kerry Von Erich to take a powder because he was too much of a problem. So he ended up, oh God, he ended up dying of an overdose in February 18th, 1993, and you let loose him just a couple months before. He shot himself because he was so hooked on drugs with your doctors. The events, not the steroids you blame it on, and your little bulldog attorney, they call Jerry McDevitt. You know, you always put him out there to solve your problems. You never can answer it. You got a publicist. Why don't you do it yourself, you chicken shit fuck? Dino Bravo. Now you and I, Pat Patterson, and the Rougeau brothers all know about this, don't we? Think now. I don't even have to look at it. I know Dino real well, the Canadian strongman from Montreal. He was pushing cigarettes over the border. I was going to go with him one time. I was going to make 10 grand, but I didn't do it. What happens? You let him go. He was addicted to steroids and drugs like everybody else, but he was murdered. He was shot like 17 times in front of his 7-year-old girl. You knew who the guys were. I don't, Vince, but you know. I know everybody knows this man, Big John Studd. Now, steroids don't kill you at the beginning. They kill you at the end. But Big John, he was a great movie star too, man. Loved him in Marlboro. What was it, Harley and the Marlboro Man? I mean, just did a great job. He was in a lot of movies. He died of growth hormone, they say, of liver cancer and Hodgkin's disease. But the real truth is it was from painkillers, steroids, and HGH. One hell of a man dead there. You knew all about it, Vince? And you let him go too, didn't you? Before he died. You don't want him dying on your watch, do you? You know when they're ready to die, so you let them go. So it makes me sick about you. But this one you didn't. This was a little bit different on this one. This is Flying Brian Pillman, a good friend of mine that I met in the early 80s. Now this here kid here, no, pardon me, it was early 90s. This kid here played for the Cincinnati Bengals as a linebacker. He tried out for him as the last guy cut at like 225 pounds. And he overcome all the obstacles, you know. And he was only 6 foot, 226 pounds. And he was from Minnesota. And he come from the dungeon too, just like me. A lot of the dungeon guys, man, made it in this business. You know, Stu Hart didn't know what he was doing down there. He did. He was great. So, anyway, what happens to him is, during his football career, you want to say, you know, he had a pill problem before then. He had a pain pill problem before then. But you know that's not the truth. He OD'd on, this guy was on your time. Yeah, his wife on the WWF station actually talked about it. I remember that. I don't want to name his wife's name, but he died on your watch. So that's really the first one that you really know died of overdose on your time. Here's another guy you let go of course, a great junkyard dog. Used to call him Nigger, Vince. Remember? And he hated you for it. And I asked him why that you allowed him to do that to JYD. And JYD showed me a check for 120 grand for dolls one time. But this is why. What if that I'd wrap this chain around him and break his fucking neck. But what happened is, like a lot of us, got addicted to cocaine. He died in a car wreck. But you'd already released him, Vince. So you're going to say it had nothing to do with you. But where did he get his drug addiction? Vince McMahon. Traveling all over the world every day. 340, 330 days a year. No time off. If you took time off for any reason, you were fired. Unless you were Hulk Hogan. That's it. This really bothers me. This is Brady Boone. Brady Boone come from Robbinsdale High School, and I met him in '85 in the Carolinas when I was only there for a month, and Dusty was treating him like shit. I knew he had all the potential in the world, and I got him in as my cousin, Brady Boone, along with Ken Patera in 1987, and we tagged up. You liked him too. You knew he could work. He was one of the greatest gymnasts in the world. Here he is here. He could have went on to become probably an Olympic gymnast, but he shows pro wrestling at a Robbinsdale High School, like Henning and Rude and all those guys from Minneapolis, Minnesota. All of them are gone now, pretty much. Anyway, he died in a car wreck. Had a wife and 4 kids. Okay, man. Oh, Vince, just thinking about you, man, just makes me sick, you know. I know you're probably saying, well, I got all these billions of dollars, I got nothing. Money never impressed me none. You can't get buried with it. You can ask any of these wrestlers that have died so far, you know, really they got addicted on your watch, Mr. Pimp. every one of our prostitute wrestlers and myself that have died, that I've shown so far, do you think could buy their life for $1 billion, or their wife or their kids' family would say, okay, yeah, I'll take $1 billion for their death? I know there's some people out there saying, yeah, I'll do it, that come from dysfunctional families. I know that. I come from a dysfunctional family, but I'd never do it. But these people, their families wouldn't. There's no money that can buy your health, Vince. Okay? Now let's go to my pal, Rick Rude. Now, you know Rick Rude and I were tight. We kept in contact with each other. Down at the Memorial Coliseum down there, I seen him down there in the late 90s and so forth. Let me tell you something. He told me about Owen Hart. He told me about Bret Hart. He told me about all the egos that were clashing back there. And he said that he was worried that one day that Vince might go over the edge and he was going insane. I said, well, Rick, and he said, man, I hurt my neck. I can't. He couldn't even wrestle with being a manager. And I didn't know what advice to give him. I was out of the business at this time. I had lost my promoter's license. Everything was pretty much over with me. And anyway, what happens? He overdoses. Was it on Vince's watch? No, he went to WCW for a while. But where did he start his drugs? With you, Vince! And all your doctors! Wasn't Zohorian? You had one in California. You had one in Colorado. Oh, man, you even had, like, what was it? 130 Zohorian. I don't get this. I don't know how you got off with Zohorian deal, man. I didn't want to go into that trial because you know it was all staged anyway. Okay. Owen Hart. Now, does anybody other than me doesn't see the writing on the wall here? Owen Hart fell 70 feet to his death at the Kemper Arena, May 23rd, 1999. I remember the date well. Pay-per-view. He's on a harness that holds 2, 3, 4 tons. You tell me how in the fuck that's going to break. Well, it did. But in 96, go back 3 years, Bret Hart knocked out. Vince with one punch on a screw job that happened in Montreal. I forgot to say that. Now, everybody left. Davey Boy Smith, Bret Hart, Neidhart, they all left, but Owen Hart stayed. Why, I don't know. I don't know if there was competition between him and Bret. I don't know. But he stayed. Davey Boy Smith stayed. In WCW for a while, I talked to him. He was worried about this. He told me he might even be involved in it. He was so high he didn't know. We just popped pills together. Next thing you know, he falls to his death. Dead. Owen Hart. On your watch, Vince. Steroids? Everybody took them. But we're not talking about steroids here. We're talking about other drugs. Was he slipped something? Or was it the mechanical lever jammed, worked? Well, we'll never know, will we, Vince? You know why? Because I'm going to read this. Look at this right here. November 2nd, 2000, a year and a half later, which saw the WWF give, not go to court and fight after a year and a half and fight for the insurance company. Vince gave the Hart family $18 million that was distributed among the Hart family. The manufacturer of the harness that Owen fell to his death from, the manufacturer of the harness system, was also a defendant against the Hart family, but they were suddenly dismissed from the case after the settlement was reached. Why didn't you stay with the insurance company, go to court? Was there something wrong with the mechanism, Vince? Duh! In my world, you killed him. Then when this man that you took back, Davey Boy Smith, who I broke into business with in Calgary, the dungeon, before he died, told me, was his own two lips told me that you whacked him out, you murdered him. Then all of a sudden he comes up dead. Of course he was on steroids and all kinds of drugs and died at 39. But you know what? What's kind of funny, nobody wanted him. WCW didn't want him. Nobody wanted this kid because he was on all these drugs, and you took him back 4 times, buddy. 4 times. And I read ESPN, the magazine, Sean Assell wrote it was called Overkill. I read it. You let him back 4 times. 5 times. 5 times you let him back into WWF. After Owen died, not only did you let him back in, without even a physical, you signed him to a $450 a year contract, $450,000 a year contract for 4 years. 4 years, that's almost $2 million for a man that nobody wanted. That proves to me that he was involved in Owen Hart's death. And with all the heat Owen Hart and Davey Boy had, and the Hart family and Davey Boy had at the time of death, I 100% believe that, Vince. That's on your watch too. Can you dig it, man? Here's something. Miss Elizabeth. She became a drug addict on your watch. She couldn't take the road. It was killing everybody. It was. Dead. Overdosed. Man, there was so many drugs in her system. I mean, yeah, I don't want to get into the part with Luger, because something happened to Luger. I guess it's what goes around comes around. I don't know. But if it didn't, I'd get into it with Luger right now. But it's not. There's no need for it. It's taken. The man upstairs came down. Just like he's going to come down on you, Vince. But this beautiful woman, shoot in right here if you could. You see how beautiful she is? Now here's 2 years later. Look at her. After you let her go and she was still an addict at WCW. I mean, come on, man. This isn't coincidence. Is this coincidence, people? Come on. No one's ever confronted you, Vince, like this. What are you going to do, whack me? Bring it on, man. I ain't scared of you, buddy. Not at all. Bring it on. Boom. Okay. Kurt Hennig. Mr. Perfect. You created him. Another Robbinsdale High School, Minnesotan. You created him. You're the one that had him come down to 92 with this your bullshit thing with me that I said last time I'm not going to bring up. The big rib. What happened? He overdosed. You let him go a couple months before because of a plane incident with Brock Lesnar. And, who else? Brock Lesnar, I guess that's it. And Sean Stasiak. Stan Stasiak's son who tried to record you. I was the only smart one down there, really. I really knew what he was doing. He was trying to record you, get you on tape and expose you. But you caught him, I guess, damn it. Dead. Mr. Perfect. He only had like 5 kids, I think, 4 kids. All kinds of relatives. Did it make you happy? Another one dead. You take your responsibility for that? Well, if you don't, well, how about Road Warrior Hawk? You see Road Warrior Hawk there? You wanted to make fun of this guy, didn't you? This guy really could have whapped your ass. I gotta read this just for a second. You made fun of the angle. It says, during the Attitude Era in which the WWF moved towards a more adult product, the Legion of Doom was placed into a storyline incorporating Hagstrom's, the Hawk's, real-life drug addiction and alcoholism against the wishes of both Hagstrand and Laurinaitis. That's Road Warrior Animal. The Road Warriors, the best tag team in the history of wrestling. In the 80s. Probably of all time. They didn't want this. But you went ahead and did it anyway. Made fun of a drug addict that you're creating. And then he finally died a few months later into controversy. You gonna admit that one, Vince? Or is that not on you? Even though you created the fucking angle. That's not on you? The pimp took another one, took another prostitute down, right? This guy probably don't mean much to you. You know, Mike Lockwood, Crash Holly. But I met him before. Young kid, good kid, hard-working kid. He died. But you let him go just a little bit before. Remember, Vince? You got him hooked on the drug so hard, and the road, and somewhere down the road a couple months later, he ODs and dies. Now this one's really going to hurt. This one's going to hurt because this is my WrestleMania 3 buddy, Hercules Hernandez, Ray Fernandez, who bought when I was married, my wife Selena's home in Tampa, Florida, and from what I understand, died in the home. It always states died at a heart attack, because you don't want to say it's anything but a heart attack. You always throw the truth away, but the truth really is that it was from drugs. I know, because we did drugs all the time together. We were injured all the time, on the road, traveling in the air, Xanax to sleep, Vicodin, morphine, you name it, we did it. Dad had 8 kids, I believe, Herc had, but he's dead. You let him go because he was near death. There he went. You feel bad about that one yet? You don't? I can hear you, man. Yeah, I hear you. How about Big Boss Man? Remember him? Big Boss Man? Let's see, what happened here? Released from WWE in 2003 after 5 years. And he dies 4 months later. What'd you release him for, you fuck? You drugged him out too, didn't you? Like everybody else. He had a beautiful family. Yeah, I'm speaking for everybody that's 6 feet under the grave. Just like you should be 6 feet under that goddamn Hollywood Walk of Fame. Should be shame. It's bullshit they gave that to you, Vince. You need to be under that motherfucker. Now let's get into Eddie Guerrero. I met Eddie in 1994 back in Portland. Him and Art Barr, the Love Machine. Art Barr, he passed away of a drug overdose too. Now that didn't have nothing to do with you, that one. We'll let that one go. But this one here is on you, man. This is Eddie Guerrero. You know damn well he was getting everybody at this time. You had another doctor. His name was Dr. Phil Aston, that everybody was getting drugs from. But you know what, Vince? Will really, let's see if I got to the point yet of no return. I'm getting a little disorganized here. That's what happens when your brain's been beat in. Listen, let's cut the break just for a second. Cut the break. I want this to go right. Cut the...
5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to get back with you. Take a quick break. I know this is a long super shoot video, and my freedom of speech right. RF video has given me that right. Nothing to do with him, man. This is all on me. All on me. My freedom of speech, right, Vince? You can't take that away from me. Hey, you might be able to kill people, take them away from their families with your drug addictions, getting them hooked with your doctors, like Zahorian and getting off on that bullshit with Jerry McDevitt, your little bulldog attorney, which makes me sick. You're just bad. You're just as bad as Vince, Jerry. Come after me, man. Sue me. Sue my SSI, you prick. Okay? Eddie Guerrero. Want to take some of my food stamps? Go ahead. I work for him. I pay taxes. A lot of them. Anyway, Eddie Guerrero, one hell of a nice kid, man. I met him back with Art Barr, the Love Machines. He worked his way all the way up to the top of the ladder of WWF, WWE. You knew Aston. You turned Aston on to everybody and tried to turn your back like you did with Dr. Zahorian. You know why, Vince? When Eddie died, the wellness program started looking around. People started turning heads. Pro football, man, if they had all these deaths, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 deaths, man, they go nuts. When Reggie White died, you know, I don't know if steroids or drugs were involved. They said he died of sleep apnea at 43. I doubt that because the NFL does steroids too. I hope that's what it was. Reggie was a hell of a football player. But that's a different ball game. You have unions. We don't here. So he had to keep working, addicted, and died on the job in a hotel. Now you knew full well of this, Vince. Now let's go back. Why we're going to drop off here at Eddie Guerrero and all his great family, Chavo and Hector that I wrestled with, and his family, and his Chavo Jr. is still with you. Why, I don't know, for money, I guess. I don't know. The hell of a worker, though. Now, here we go. I'm going to read something to you here. In the 1991 Zohorian trial, Vince McMahon had several wrestlers testify other than Hulk Hogan. Why, I don't know. I mean, that just bugs the hell out of me. You got Hulk Hogan out of testifying, which would have brought you down. That would have took you out, knocked you out. But anyway, you had Roddy Piper go on, stoned out of his fucking gourd. You take steroids? Yes. Did you buy drugs? Yes. Yeah. Dogs are Zohorian, yeah. He sold everybody. He was your doctor too, Vince. You had 132 Federal Express packages come to your house and to Titan Towers there in Stamford, Connecticut. Hulk Hogan had 100 and some. Piper 100 and some. I mean, come on. But let's go back. In 1991, after that, and you were acquitted in 1994 for steroid marketing and drug marketing and all that, and you said this, in quote, 1994, Vince told the press that his wrestlers would now be drug tested stronger than the USA Olympics, period. So there's never going to be another drug addict or death in your company, right, Vince? All right. Since that time, Kerry Von Erich died in 93, but I'm going to include him in that because it was 91 to 94. Kerry Von Erich has died of a drug overdose. 1995, Big John Studd died. I showed all the pictures. 1997, Brian Pillman died while working for you, overdose. Junkyard Dog, who you fired, who knew was addicted to cocaine and painkillers and so forth, Xanax, overdosed or died in a car wreck, but it was based, let him go because of the drugs. Rick Rude died of an overdose of drugs. It started with you and your Dr. Zohorian, doctors out in California and Colorado. Owen Hart, murdered. Davey Boy Smith, overdose. You knew all about it 4 or 5 times. You took him back since 94. After 94, why'd you take him back when he tested dirty? Because he was in on the murder, right? Of Owen Hart? This is me talking, nobody else. Don't you go blaming nobody else but Billy Jack Haynes for telling the truth. I know it's a long video, man. You're probably tired of looking at me. I can't see you. I really can't. I wish I could see everybody who's going to watch this. But this has to be told by somebody. I mean, 2003, Miss Elizabeth, beautiful Miss Elizabeth, dies of a drug overdose of every kind of drug you can think of. It started with you, Vince. Road Warrior Hawk, you created the angle. 2 months later, he dies of a heart attack. That was you. You made fun of him being a drug addict, you asshole. Crash Holly dies. Hercules Hernandez. Eddie Guerrero. And this is during a time where you said from this time is going to be tested stronger than the Olympics, I swear. But it costs too much money, right, Vince? Too much money. You're making billions, but you can't spend money to test that every wrestler is drug-free. No, you want them to be big. You want them to be big, better, and better. Like WrestleMania 3. You wanted to be on steroids, and you knew they had to take the Xanax to sleep on the planes, and you knew they had to have the painkiller, the morphine, Vicodin, Percocet, Soma, muscle relaxers. You had to have that. Didn't have it, they couldn't survive, and you'd have no company, no wrestlers. So it's on you, man. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm going to save Chris Benoit and the Bombshell for last. That's really, I hope he drops you to your knees and they totally investigate you 100%. Because I personally, myself, when I seen this on Nancy Grace, I knew nothing about it because I don't watch your fucking shit. I really don't know more. It's ridiculous. That's why I know Dusty's got to be your booker. But when I seen that Chris Benoit died, I knew there was something more. Because I knew Chris when he was 15 and on. I knew them both when they were young. This is the nicest guy you're ever going to meet in the business. So we're going to save the Bombshell for last. So let me continue. So now you're going to test every wrestler. Benoit dies in 2007. Okay? Benoit dies. Before he can come and tag you, Bam Bam Bigelow overdoses. He was with you, I don't know about how many years. He wrestled, what a match this was. What was his winner gets a bowl full of drugs? Here's probably the biggest drug addict in the NFL, and Bam Bam Bigelow, and Lawrence Taylor. I ain't putting you down, Lawrence, but you've came clean with being on drugs in the NFL. They kept giving you chances. But you got time off, and you had a union when you were hurt. You didn't have to play football. Bam Bam had to wrestle every night at 400 pounds. Sure, he got hooked on drugs, painkillers, with broken bones and torn ligaments. Who the fuck wouldn't? This really bugs me too. Mike Awesome. You were going to push him. In fact, you put the belts on him. But let me read something. After he hung himself, but he was hooked on drugs, just like every one of your other wrestlers do. He said this, I quote, September 2002, being in the WWE, formerly the WWF, sucked. I hated it. You had to kiss everybody's ass. You had to be on your political toes all the time. You would not believe the backstage politics. You were getting stabbed in the back constantly. I was so happy when I was told I was gone. It was like a one-way drug addiction street in the locker room. Mike Awesome. Oh yeah, he was married, had kids, brothers, sisters. You don't give a fuck, Vince. You just care about your billions of dollars. Nobody can return these people. Once again, I'm speaking for the people under the ground right now that can't speak for themselves. So let me do it, please, because I'm soon to be joining them. Nancy Benoit. She wanted to be manager. So if you ever say Billy's lying in 1984, that Nancy wanted to become a manager. Oh no, she wasn't going to be Billy Jack's manager. Oh no, she managed Arn Anderson, Chris Benoit, Ric Flair, Psychosis, Butch Reed, Sandman, Tuco, Scorpio, Ron Simmons, Rick Steiner, Scott Steiner, Kevin Sullivan, Taz, Shane Douglas, Brian Pillman, Dean Malenko, Johnny Hotbody, Randy Savage, Ron Sleeker, and Kerry Von Erich. A lot of those people are dead. But no, she never was going to be a manager, was she? Another lie, Vince. Vince Killer McMahon. Nancy's dead. Keeping this for the bombshell. Bombshell. Nancy Grace, baby. I hope she takes it in. Benoit and Nancy go together here. And the beautiful Daniel, 7-year-old son. Okay? Let's continue. Chris Benoit again. Now, this one really makes me sick because I knew this girl in the AWA back in the old days. One of the tough cookies. Women, wrestlers, and managers, sensational Sherry Martel. She passes away on the morning of June 15, 2007. Families of all the wrestlers that have died, please give me a disclaimer too. I'm trying to protect and make this man pay for the deaths that have been involved here, because he really is the promoter pimp in wrestling, and we were the drug addicted prostitutes by his doctors. That makes him responsible, Vince Killer McMahon. That makes you responsible. One guy dies should be enough. You shouldn't be 80, 50, 60, whatever it is. Okay, she dies, and they try and cover for Martel's sister, Vicky, claim Martel died while drinking coffee with her mother in the front porch of the home. Well, the autopsy says it was an accidental overdose with multiple drugs in the system, including high amounts of oxycodone. Hey, that sounds like Dr. Aston. You scratch my head. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Well, who'd you have now? You got another doctor now, right? Don't you got someone from New York now? Anyway, she's gone. And so you want to make it look good. This is what makes me sick about you, Vince. The first time of all the deaths that we've had here, and there's been so many of them, Martel's funeral was paid for by Vince McMahon. Hey, that was nice of you. But you couldn't buy the fucking headstone with your billions. Booker T contributed the money to pay for the headstone for her grave. That's nice of you, Vince. That was after the Wellness Committee And Representative Henry Waxman forced you to write that letter to me, man. Worst mistake that ever happened to your ass. That's why you waited so fucking long. Yeah, everybody else got a letter. You know what? I got 6 months to sue you. Hey, that gives me 4 months. You know, I'm going to sue your fucking ass, man. I might own the company. I'll give the money to all the families that are deceased. That's what I'll do with your millions and billions, what you got. This one hurts. Brian Adams, Crush. I've got a book down there with you. I love this guy. As much as I can love. I liked him a lot. He was like a brother. I said a couple negative things in the last video, but I loved him. I liked him a lot. Brian Adams overdosed August 13, 2007. He was with you. You let him go. And he also died of a drug overdose found by his wife Irene, who I know and knew in Portland. I admire his family, and my heart goes out to you, Adams, and your whole family, Brian. And Irene, if you catch this video, hang in there. I know you have kids, and it's a great loss for you because I know you were really in love with him. And your brother, Brian. So, hang tough. Just another, you got released by Vince too. Got you hooked on drugs and all that travel. This kid I didn't know, but I've talked to Mike Mooneyham. You didn't know him. Name is Andrew. In fact, you named him Andrew Test Martin. Testosterone? Now this is a kid, 6'6", 280 pounds. And they even joked about him being on testosterone. He knew he had a drug problem. Here he is on these several stories. I mean, I read it. And how you released him, World Wrestling Federation Entertainment, 1998 to 2004, and then you let him go. I mean, if you go to the internet, Mike Mooneyham, man, and contact him. This is me, Billy Jack Haynes, telling you to do that. No one's forcing you to do it. But read this, and you look at the guilt with Vince McMahon on this. This is pure sickness. How you could let a man like this die. And by the way, I got it in mind when it says Bret Hart here. Hey, Bret, I want to tell you something, man. You know, man to man between you and me, because I was before you and the WWF, even though I trained, you got into business before me, you wrote you a fucking book. And in the book, I was told this just a week ago. In the book it claims, he says, Billy Jack Haynes, Billy Jack's in the back of the van taking a pair of pliers trying to get cauliflower ears. And that's all you mentioned about me in your entire book. You egotistical fuck. If my brother was killed by Vince McMahon, murdered, and you know damn well it was because you were fighting for it. You were saying he was murdered. You take it back. You take the money. There's money that can buy you off. And in fact, you get inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame. That takes the heat away. Right? That takes the heat away. All those millions from losing on. How can you do that? And how can you lie about hey man, I fought for a living, man. Anytime you want to get it on with me before I leave this earth, man, you get a hold of me anytime. You know where to. Just go to the internet, man. You'll find me. But don't fucking lie in your book. You've always had a jealousy of me when I first went down there, right? Remember? That's you. You were a little wimp, 175 pounds, till you got on the roids. You're a good worker, but you're not the best there was. The best there always will be, and that's bullshit. They just lacked talent at that time. Dynamite Kid's the best worker there's ever been. And you want to put him down. I read about that too. Fuck you, man. You hear what I'm saying? Take your millions, stick them up your ass. I'm sure Owen would appreciate that, right? Okay, there's guys who haven't died. I'm just going to just put one up. There's so many more. Jake Roberts almost OD'd many times. You kept taking him back, Vince, even though he was so drugged out on everything. You kept taking him back because he made you money. Here's Owen and Jim Neidhart taking him back. Neidhart, all he was a come along. He couldn't wrestle his way out of a jockstrap. And here's Ted DiBiase. He was so into drugs, he went into religion. He's still alive, but he was so drugged out, and you knew it. You kept taking it back. In fact, you got his sons. It's like a family tradition with you, isn't it? Get them all drugged out. You want to kill them all for that fucking money. Bombshell tonight, Nancy Grace would say. Okay? I met Nancy. You remember Nancy? I met you when I worked for Ted Turner. 1991 as black blood under the mask because I was hiding from not going to the trial in 1991. In May 1st, on my dad's birthday of the murder of Michael Franke, I was forced out of Oregon, or my dad would be killed, I was told. And also the same time, Zahorian trial. So it was both those trials, you guys threatened to kill my dad, so I had no choice but to go. And I went. I don't know if it was going to happen or not, but if you would ever kill my dad, believe me, I'd have got some gangs that I know in Portland, there would have been a real powwow. I'm telling you that right to your face. That's me telling you, freedom of speech. No one else. Me. God, it feels good getting this off my chest. And I bet you no wrestler ever will. So remember that when you see this video and I'm dead. I'm live right now telling you. And when I'm dead, when you see the video on tape, it's for real. Bombshell tonight. Chris Benoit's death is what gave me the real motivation other than the letter. I couldn't have done it without Vince's letter, though, because I was so hooked on methadone, drugs, so forth. So I was in methadone treatment, 300 milligrams a day, enough to kill a cow. Started at 40, went all the way up to 300. I was so hooked on painkillers after about 30 surgeries. Wrestling's fake, though, right? Come on, just joking. It's entertainment. Yes, it is. But we're stuntmen. Everything we do is real. Okay? Just always remember that. There's nothing fake about it. Benoit made it to People magazine. I read it real clear. I read it about 5 times. Because I knew what was going down, man. I knew back from the blowjobs that you and Hulk got from Nancy, and this is no disgrace to Nancy's family, man. It's got to be told. Your daughter's dead now, so it's got to be told. So here's the People magazine. Oh wait, I want to show this one first. Here's why I had to hide under the mask, because Vince, the commissioner, and the Franke trial in Salem, the murder in January 17th of '89. If I was to be there as the only witness, every other witness is dead. Tried to kill me too, but I'm still here. That's me under the mask hiding as black blood. 2 days away from signing a contract. That's the funny part about it. For $1.2 million. I'll get that, buddy. Thanks. $1.2 million. Even with the knee that was totally off. And Ted Turner took care of me, 75 grand. Thanks, Ted. You're the only man that has tried to help the boys out. But you couldn't compete against Vince. No one can. Not in the wrestling. Well, excuse me, not in the wrestling business, because he's too dirty, and you're not. And wrestlers try to take advantage of you on that. I know all about it. So here we come. The bombshell. Let's say Chris Benoit marries first a man named Jim Doss in Florida when I met Nancy on the front cover of those magazines that I had said earlier, right here in 1984. That's Nancy when she just turned 20. Okay. Nancy then married Kevin Sullivan, another wrestler. They divorced. Then Nancy married Chris Benoit, who was probably other than Dynamite Kid, because he copied Dynamite Kid's style. And he became probably the top worker in professional wrestling. It's not the heavyweights that do it anymore, even in boxing and UFC. It's these guys, the middleweights to 220s. So I started looking into it, and I seen the angle where Vince blew himself up in a fucking truck. Boom! You're dead. Well, I wish that would have been true. That's Billy Jack talking. I wish that was true. I seen the angle, man. Guy taped it and showed it to me. I started putting 2 and 2 together. 2003 or 2004 at the Rose Garden, I used to get 500 pills from Chris Benoit, from Dr. Aston, he'd sell them to me for $1 a piece, 7.5 Vicodins. I probably bought 10 bottles from Chris. We'd meet at the 7-Eleven by the Rose Garden. I wouldn't go nowhere near it because Vince would freak out and probably, I don't know what he'd do. I heard he had extra security when Donald Trump was there a couple years back. That makes me laugh, man. A year back or so. You scared of me, Vince? You fuck. Okay, so here we go. Here's a bombshell. Chris Benoit and Nancy Benoit had a child named Daniel. Now, Chris loved Daniel so much that he would do anything for him. I mean, that's all he could ever talk about was Daniel, 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 Daniel. Vince, he loved him. True love. But you know the truth. The real truth is, Chris asked me if Vince ever fucked my wife before in life. That's what this is all about. And you know damn well what the truth is. I told him, I said, no, I never fucked, I don't think. Oral sex, yeah. So, what the explosion was over was that he knew that you were fucking Nancy Benoit when he was wrestling. So he worked the angle out of the way, and 14 hours before it ever happened, it came up on the internet. That somehow became just a figment of someone's imagination, which personally I don't buy, but I don't need to buy it anyway. You got yourself out of the way. Chris would never ever kill Daniel. Never. Unless the kid was yours. Nancy, the day before, went and seen Dr. Aston, the family doctor. Chris Benoit's and Nancy's doctor. Dr. Aston, of course, that's where everybody got their drugs too, as everybody's found out. 15 other wrestlers. Probably all of them. Vince, right? Dr. Phil Aston in Georgia. So, what happens is, he comes home, they get in a fight, and the only way that he would have ever killed Daniel, unless he was murdered by your people, which really could have happened, right, Vince? Because it was 2 days apart. Boom, 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 with Bibles by him. Everything planned by your Jerry McDevitt, looks like to me. But what happened was, the baby, the argument they had, the baby wasn't his. He was convinced of that it was your child, Vince. So as soon as they die, and you put them on the air, you sweep it under the rug like it never happened, and you come back, next thing you know, Chris Benoit is wiped completely off the face of the earth. Next! And we're talking about what happened on People magazine. They know about you now. You're talking about one of my friends here. Talking about Dynamite Kid, the guy who trained me, the guy he emanated and imitated. He didn't like many people. He was like me. He's kind of a sociopath. Quiet. Brad Armstrong, by the way. I had my best match in the world over anybody with Brad Armstrong in 1995, my last leg. But how guilty can you feel about this, Vince? Come on, man. And you're out of the picture, and you want to wipe a man who made so much money, all of his videos, because what? Because he killed his wife? Well, if you was fucking his wife, you wouldn't have killed her. So here's what we need to do. Vince, you need to take a DNA test, because it's 50-50. It could be your kid. The day before, Nancy went down and talked to Dr. Aston, Dr. Phil Aston in Fayetteville, and then the day after, the day of the murder, Chris went down. It went down then. That night is when the murders happened. So either you did them, or you're telling me that Nancy told Chris that you guys were fucking, because you know you fucked her, Vince. You fucked her many times. I shouldn't be using the word F, but I'm just telling it the way it is. Made love? It couldn't be made love. You got a wife, Linda, don't you? So you having an affair with the guy's wrestler, Chris Benoit, the best wrestler in WWE. They say they had the brain of a 90-year-old man, and you were still letting him wrestle? Do you believe that, Vince? You know he's into drugs. The autopsy showed they were both into drugs. Come on. But the thing is, they didn't die of drugs. It was a murder. It was a murder plot. I phoned Fayetteville County myself, and I said to them, have you had a motivation on this murder? I want to know. I talked to this guy, man. I talked to him. I talked to the district attorney, and they said, we investigated a year and a half, man. We have not an answer why he killed this kid, or why this murder took place. I talked to him for an hour. I said, I'm going to come down and talk to you, District Attorney Ballard. And I told him, I think I know that Vince McMahon was fucking his wife. They had an argument. She said she was fucking Vince, and that kid is not yours. It's Vince McMahon's kid. And he went over the edge and lost it, because he would not kill that kid for nothing. Now, he might knock her in her ass and walk out with Danny, but he would never kill the kid. So you murdered him, Vince, or you're a fucker, and he found out about it, and he went nuts in his own way and did his own thing. And that could have happened too. But take your DNA, man, and you take a lie detector test right along with me. How about that? You prove to the whole world. How about on Nancy Grace? After that whoever killed that little girl's trial's over. That woman who killed her little girl, it's ridiculous. So guilty, but I mean, come on. I'll do that, Vince. I'm challenging to that right now. Because I've caught you in about, I don't know how many lies I've caught you in, man. And I feel really good about it. You want to come after me, come after me. You leave these people alone. It's all on me, man. Freedom of speech. I know I repeat myself a few times. You put yourself in my shoes, man. I've been all over this globe, but I've never met a promoter like Vince Killer McMahon Jr. who don't care about nobody but money and egos. Look at his ego. He's involved almost every Monday, I guess. I've seen it last Monday. Just 14 years I stay away from wrestling, and this shit starts happening because I was a drug addict. Now I'm not a drug addict no more. I'm clean. I feel good about it. And man, I want to take you to town. I want you out of business. Ban the WWE. If you got stock in the WWE, get rid of it. Look what he did last Monday. Enos to penis. This is not entertainment, man. It's not entertainment. It's exposing young kids, man. He doesn't care what he says. I know this video has a lot of filth in it, so I'm sure there'll be a disclaimer on it to say, kids, be careful, beware. There's going to be a lot of heavy stuff on this. So you watch it first and see if your kids should be able to watch it. Just tell them a little bit about it, adults. That's all I really have to say. I know it's about a 3-hour video, but I want to just thank RF Video for letting me do this, and it's not on anybody here.
Yeah, I just want to say again and reiterate that, the views expressed by you are solely, your views and not necessarily at all the views of anybody in my staff of RF Video, and, it's pretty much all on you, and we don't share the same views, but...
Thank you. Just thank you for letting me share my views, because I was there with these wrestlers. I understand it's nothing, like I said many times, there's nothing with you guys, has nothing to do with it. Just this is freedom of speech. And one more thing, as I said last time, I end with this, every man dies, few men live. And Vince, what has happened with me is through the blood, through all the years of sucking blood from wrestlers all over, I can't really put this on you, but I don't know if I can or I can't. I'm going to take you to court about it. I've contacted hepatitis C, and it's a deadly disease. I've been vaccinated with hepatitis A and B, But this came in February before I got your letter. So the motivation to come and do this took a lot of energy out of me today. If I look a little pale, sick, well, I am sick. You know, and I don't know how much longer I have another biopsy and see. But you know what? It's not about me. It's about these people that are dead, that are underground right now, and I'm speaking above it. Vincent has that Walk of Fame in Hollywood, that star. That's where they should bury you, and they say, Walk of Shame. This cocksucker murdered so many wrestlers, I lost count. Because it's on you, Vince. One more time. It's simple. You are the professional wrestling promoter pimp. And you made us the prostitutes to the traveling. This traveling schedule had us from New York to LA. LA to Vancouver, Vancouver to Miami, Miami back to Portland, Portland back to New York, New York, all the way over to Texas, Texas, all the way over to Montreal, Montreal back to California. Never had a day off. Injured, had to take the drugs. You didn't have it. Racehorses, dogs are treated better. Jesus, I mean, my goodness. A cat on the street. So you look me, man. I want a response on this. I want this video out there. I want it out there. First time nobody's ever told it straight to your face because you hate it. And I know you hate me. But have the balls, man, at least to take a DNA and a lie detector test. Okay? Because you know you're full of shit. You, Jerry McDevitt, your publicist, all the money you got, stick it up your ass, man, because no money can buy your help. Like I said before, we all breathe the same air on earth and need each other to survive, but we don't need no more of the WWE. Okay? Out. Thank you very much. Waver it out. It's all on me, Vince. All on me. Ban WWE. I'm fucking out of here, man.